You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
Yes, you people all kind of oil and thing on the house and the road. A real kind of situation. And get it at them when he's saying that everything is all right. But them are staying there. Mr. Mayor, the thing resolved? Everything back to normal? All right, more or less. Okay. Cost me $1 and you know them crooks make one set of errors. To get school books you talk about horrors, and you know them crooks make one set of errors. Errors in the back, errors in the front. Them people so slack they print where they want, and stupid me before I take a hint. I went and give them make I so to print. Imagine I say Money Lal does try. You know they put Money Lal does lie. I say Gopi Singh is a chief. They put Gopi Singh is a thief. I say Naipole know what's going on. They put Naipole know when he born. But cross me heart I never say so. You know they misprint. School books cost me $1 and you know them crooks make one set of errors. To get school books you talk about horrors, and you know them crooks make one set of errors. Errors in the back, errors in the front. Them people so slack they print where they want, and stupid me before I take a hint. I went and give them make I so to print. Imagine I say Money Lal does try. You know they put Money Lal does lie. I say Gopi Singh is a chief. They put Gopi Singh is a thief. I say Naipole know what's going on. They put Naipole know when he born. But cross me heart I never say so. You know they misprint me got it so. Papa, papa, da. see the way. We just can't go on this way. Oh, 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 oh. Night and day, for next to nothing pay, so they can't see the way. We don't enjoy equal facility, like Pharaoh and company, brainwashing we say we free. We just can't hold this way. We just can't hold this way. Please deliver us today. We just can't hold. Like you did in Egypt, when Pharaoh had the Israelites in bondage, you delivered them. But here again, we are in the same khaki pants. We have those modern Pharaohs who oppress the poor, who represents Israel. They confuse us with so much lie. Not even thinking that we will realize. And if we criticize, we could be ostracized. We don't know who to trust. That's why I say, Lord, please listen to this prayer that comes from the poor. Please send us another Moses again.
So Anybody help? Come and put a hand. Come and wipe away the blight and see what the plight that befall the man of this land. What's going on here? I would like to know why the whole world is in a turmoil. So it look as if we fire God from the job and give you walk to the Beelzebub. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. If you have to never like I understand. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. If you never like I understand. Like if Satan in control of running the land. Hey man. Oh man. Only wars and rumors of wars, incurable disease go from sea to seas and they happen without a cause. Strange phenomena now happen everywhere. The callousness of this world have the world in fear. Politics and weaponry have taken its road. They have the whole world out of control. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. It ain't not happen here, well I can understand like it. Oh yes man. Have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The king of on here, well I can understand like if Satan in control of running the land. Oh man. To get at ease, we turn to religion, but then in a quest to do our best we end up in real confusion. Some religious leaders so phony and vain, allow religious morals to go down the drain. Their materialism make them feel them is Lord, robbing the world in the name of God. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing of going on here, well I can understand that the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing of going on here, well I can understand like he's Satan in control of running the land. Oh man. Let's take control. Let's reconstruct the world. Sift out all parasites, phonies and blights. What is wrong? Let us make it right. Stop this social, moral and religious decay. Our world wasn't meant to be this way. For heaven's sake, let's not fall for deceit. Put God back in the driver's seat. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing going on here, well I can understand. The devil have a hand in running the land. Man, the devil have a hand in running the land. The devil have a hand in running the land. The thing what's going on here, man, I can understand. Like if Satan in control of running the land. Oh man. Oh man. The devil have a hand. The devil have a hand. Oh yes. In running the land. The devil have a hand. The devil have a hand. The thing what happen here I can understand. Like the Satan in control of running the land. We quarrel and we fight. We ain't doing right. Oh yes. The devil have a hand in running the land. We forget what's good. Not doing the things we should. Ah yes man. The Satan in control of running the land. I can't understand why. I can't understand. Oh yes man. Horror teachers, phony preachers, bogus leaders, Satan workers. Oh yes man. I can't understand. Well I can understand. Satan in control of running the land. Place of worship. Show no friendship. Only money. That's all they see. I can't understand.
Savior. It's so hard to deal with personal struggle. So sad when you feel alone in your trouble. It's real hard when you want to talk to a brother. It's so bad because of how some look at you after. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover my head. Satan want me dead. Cover my back from human attack. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. People see you smile, but don't know the hurt that you're feeling. Even as God's child, at times your heart does be bleeding. Where can you go when you're really looking for healing? Who know how to flow when your soul needs some restoring? So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover me home from evils unknown. Cover my feet so I'll never retreat. Oh Lord, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover my brother, cover my sister, them who under pressure. Cover, 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 cover the preacher, every church worker, the young believer. Cover, 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 the worship leader and intercessor, every gospel minister. Cover, cover, cover. Jesus alone is the one who has the real answer. The one on the throne is the true and loving Father. He will hold your hand and keep you from going under. He will make you stand and let you know he's a fixer. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover my mind. You know the struggle sometimes. Cover my mouth, that the wrong thing wouldn't come out. Oh Lord, cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me. Cover the Christian in the midst of aggression with the power of your right hand. Jesus, cover, cover, cover them helpless children. Jesus, defend them. Send help from heaven. Jesus, cover, cover, cover all them radio stations that blessing the nation. Grant divine protection. Jesus, cover, 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 cover me, cover me, cover me.
Truer words were never spoken. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. Wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. If you run with wolves, you will learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate, for the good and the bad. Note, be not mistaken. This is applicable to family as well as friends. Yes, do love, appreciate, and be thankful for your family, for they will always be your family, no matter what. Just know that they are human first, and though they are family to you, they may be a friend to someone else and will fit somewhere in the criteria above. In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends. Never make someone a priority when you are only an option for them. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception. It is a prevailing attitude.
Let me say a special hello to all the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the village with the DAC triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And we come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. Let me bring in 1/3 of the DAT triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. No other than Diana, Waveney, Greta, Stormy, the Storm, Bajan, Trin Bagonian, St. Augustonian,
Oh God.
Bajan, Waveney, McDonald.
Oh Lord, all of that. I don't go
Waveney,
get a new I don't go get a new bird paper, boy. That sound like an orchestra.
nah, you don't have,
Huh?
nah, you don't have, you don't have, you don't have,
I sound like an orchestra symphony, all of them names, boy.
but that is
Yeah,
all your names. That is your name. That your names.
yeah, you toot my horn loud and clear.
Yeah, we know you can't get no ID card in Trinidad, but that is all your names.
ID card don't stop me from doing what I want to do, but you toot my horn loud and clear.
All right, all right. I'd add motivational speaker, poet extraordinaire. I'd add all them things in there.
Global ambassador. Come on, bring it
Oh,
on, bring it on,
God,
bring it
I'd
on.
jump in here. I'd pick all the,
WZYE. Yeah,
I'd,
bring it on.
God, I think I might run out of space.
Yeah, it's one of them regular PNMites. But go ahead.
Well,
I tell you,
but
I tell you, come out of that red thing. Come out of that red dye. I get some blue and yellow.
I'm not blue party in Trinidad.
Come on, blue and
Let me say
yellow
a
in
special welcome to
Barbados.
the other 1/3 of the DAT triplets, no other than Tommy, Marshall, the commissioner in Newark, Nisbet boy. Tommy, how you doing,
Well,
brother?
a good evening and thank you. I'm happy to be here trying to soar with you Eagles.
Got that right.
Listen,
Eagles are
listen,
not pigeons.
listen, yeah.
Eagles
Yeah,
is poo. Eagles is
yeah, well,
tutu on pigeons, you know.
yeah. And let's say Eagles as tutu on pigeons. You know, I, eh, but listen, seriously, I have I wonder if I have it in here, boy. I don't think I have it there, but as listened to a motivational video by what's that guy name again, boy? Miles Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe. I think he
Nice,
passed away.
Monroe.
Right. And he talks about
Mm,
lion and eagle mentality,
mm.
right?
Yep.
And they tell you about the characteristics of an eagle. and the characteristics of a lion. And I mean, when you listen to those motivational videos, there's really perk you up, boy. Put you in a place that doesn't matter what's going on around you, put you in a different place. Yeah, well, it put me in a nice. It always put me in a good place, but sometimes, when I'm doing work around the house, I have a Bluetooth little speaker there, and I have it in my phone, and I just put it on. I put it on the Bluetooth, and I walking around the house, boy, and I'm in glory, I'm in glory.
Yeah.
Well,
Talking about putting you in a place. Them three songs you started off there with.
Yeah,
It puts you in a place. This one with From Explainer,
yeah, boy.
Yep.
and then Gypsy, and
Mhm.
then those songs were very powerful
Yeah,
songs
they
to
the
start the
school
show
book
with.
song. The school book song. Yeah, that was on point.
But
So
all they
right
was saying
now,
the misprint calypso.
they were, yeah, the school, but yeah, we were saying
All it
it
was,
and then it stopped.
but
Oh
wait,
Then
wait,
yes,
wait.
stop
yes.
All it was saying. Let me ask a question. Let me do a
at
little.
first.
I want to do a quick little experiment here with you guys. Tell me if you guys hearing this, right? Tell me if you guys hearing this.
Full stop down to question mark.
Yep,
Didn't have no word processors, no
Yep.
computers with no copiers.
You're learning it, Claire?
yep, loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful,
It,
wonderful.
Crazy.
it's not as clear as the other ones that we heard before.
It's not,
After
it's not as clear as all right. All right. I just doing a
as
quick
Gypsy
experiment here.
and Explainer.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do a quick experiment here while you guys here, because what happened is that I wasn't seeing that calypso coming through the stream. So I was concerned that you guys might
Right.
not have been hearing
We
it.
were here, we were hearing it, but then eventually it went off. We heard not
Yeah,
no
yeah,
volume.
yeah. I kind of took it off a bit.
You know the
So
misprint
hold on,
made calypso.
let me hear if you guys are hearing this one here, right?
Mm.
I want to think. But you see, what happens is that when I play this one, it's not coming through the stream. Hold on, let me check something here. I think that's what it is. Let me see. Share stream, share video, share this here, this here.
These are some temperatures we have to deal with these
oil
days,
and
eh?
thing on the house on the road.
Here we go. You all
That
hearing
kind of
that?
situation.
Yeah.
And get it and everybody saying that everything is all right. But them is staying there. Mr. Mayor, the thing resolved, everything back to normal? Or
There's
the mic?
reverberation going on.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Reverb.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
You were saying it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Lot better.
But so I think I know that. Anyway, yeah. So Tommy, when you listen to these
Yes.
calypsos from way back when, man, and these
Prophetic.
Oh, boy,
calypsos have such, and I want to do something tonight. I want to do something tonight to it. I read a piece by Ken Ali, and he was talking about a calypso by Sugar Aloes, and kind of making it feel like if the calypso was political. And I'm kind of disappointed that we tend to want to make so many things political when calypsos are the way we tell our stories in Trinidad and Tobago, right? You may not be living in Trinidad and Tobago. You go to Trinidad for Carnival, and you go to the March Grass Show, or you go to the tent. You could learn quite a lot of what's going on in the country.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to compare and contrast. I'm going to compare Sugar Aloe's Calypso to a Calypso by Massive Go Sign. Right? And we're going to see that what Ken Ali was saying on one side is like, he sort of, what we have in Trinidad now, we have a lot of people in HDD, hypocritical people and disingenuous. We have a lot of them in HDD. And Ken Ali wrote the piece, and I think he's kind of hypocritical because Massive Go Sign have sang some songs. We even played it here, right? P&M for Kawe. And we're gonna play that in contrast and show you how them guys in them they can pick what they want to pick,
Mhm.
In order for their political rhetoric. And it's sad. It's really sad. And I'm gonna compare and contrast with that. You know, I think that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, and it's only because I received the piece by Ken Ali. I think you guys should have gotten it too as well.
Mhm.
He wrote a piece and he actually mentioned the song by Sugar Aloes, This Stage Is Mine, right? And the song is talking about Basdio Pandey and other things that may have happened during that regime, and he was kind of picking on it to make it look like them guys are only picking on a certain sector of the population, and
Which is totally untrue.
say that again?
Totally untrue. I said that's
Oh,
untrue. Remember how Chalk
yeah.
used to sing about Daphne all the time?
Oh, all the time. All the time. They say Chambers Duncy. You know what I mean? It's all kind of thing they sing about. All kind of thing. The driver can't drive. Captain is sinking ship. You know what? We
And then we
could
had
play some of them songs.
and recently we had the Fosto
Yeah, in
hitting
our
on
palace
Manny.
state of mind.
Yep.
In our palace state of mind. Yeah, Tom, you know what? We go delve into that tonight. Yeah, as you say that. Good, because Tom, I think you're a very good historian for me to pull up some of them songs and play them to show that there are certain Calypsonians sing certain songs. There are certain people who sing for the PNM, some people sing for the UNC. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. If they want to
Some sing against, some sing for.
some sing for, some sings against. And then Sugar Aloes went on the other side and he was singing She's Royal. Right? He
And took a really bloodbath for that.
a big hit. Took a massive hit for that. Massive hit. When he sang She's Royal. Because everybody know Sugar Aloes just sing a certain type of song. It's like Croco. You know what type of song Croco sing? Every once in a while, until he put that song, he sing that song. I just called to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's what makes our culture unique and different. You see?
Right. And well, look at this one. We're MP.
Say that again, Tommy.
Where's your MP? Where your MP?
Yeah. Right. Like we're MP. Yeah, by Brian London. Right? And we play that song in here too. Yeah, we played it in here.
But those things, the songs are factual.
That's exactly what we are saying, Dana. These songs are factual. I mean,
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
okay,
Someone's
I
at my
don't know
door.
why we make such a big issue and try to make it look like if you're only attacking one sector of the population. And that's kind of unfortunate. So, Ken Ali, we go take on your piece that you wrote, and we like you. It's okay to have an opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts. You are entitled to your own opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts or to your alternative facts. You know what it's called in this country? Alternative facts. Yeah. So let me say a
fake
special.
news.
Say that again, Tommy.
Or his fake news.
All right. Or your own fake news. Correct is right. Correct is right. So of course, again, Tommy, one of your favorite friends was in first again.
My
Nadia
favorite
was
friend.
first. Yeah.
Well, of course, Nadia is a village sweetheart.
Yeah.
My special
Nadia,
village sweetheart.
right. Nadia was first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Nadia says, good night, everyone. Good night, Anselm. Good night, Tommy. Diana Benskin, good night, love. Joan. Nadia says, good night, love, Lana. Takesha, good night, Rose. Good night, Vonnie. Good night. Yeah. Nadia's in a good mood today. I bet you. I feel Nadia must be walk today, Good night,
She and
Vonnie.
Joan.
I know not. I know Joan does just say she walk, but sometimes I was wondering, You know what I mean? I know. And of course, Takesha is in the house again. So it's always Nadia and Takesha. Now, Takesha sending beautiful hearts. Takesha. Diana the Storm getting some purple hearts. Miss Kuva getting hearts. Right, good night. Gary Mojave, even Gary Mojave again. Hearts with love.
Yes, indeed.
Takesha sending Lana, Rose, Carice, Marcia, Miss Kuva, Joan. Right? Even Albert, Vonnie, Ellis, Rajvi, Ulrich, Hailey, Troy. God. She gained Gary some yellow hearts too, boy. That is it. Only love in the village, boy, Takesha.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
Ken John, you inside. Good night, blessings to all lovely chatters in the live. Blessing and shalom. Ken John, welcome. Yep. Nadia says good night, everyone. There's one love in the village. Ken John says, send us Moses, Elijah, for we need that power for this power time. Jesus, yes. We partner Albert from all the way from Mississauga. Yeah, I think Albert from Mississauga. Yeah. Albert, I sure I get that right. Good evening, Diana, Anselm, and Tommy. Welcome, Albert.
Good
Yes,
evening,
more
Albert.
we just say it and love all the time. Full 100. Vonnie Roberts, even Vonnie getting internet problems. Vonnie, welcome. Vonnie says hi. Nadia, Takesha, good night, my dear. Dave, Rambaran, welcome back, partner. Where you been? You inside? Yeah, man. Dave say good night to Diana, Wall Street, Tommy, Gary. Yeah. They haven't bad in the. Hey, you know, Tommy's interesting, eh? That so many people are talking about how bad the internet is, right, in Trinidad, and TV white space could have have a significant impact on that. I thought about that, man.
Yeah, well, hey, they sort of missed the train because the train will have to turn back around to come back around.
Yeah, but it ain't easy. Judy, welcome. I mean, it's just I don't know, boy. I don't know. All right, but let's get to it, right? I want to get to this first here. Let me get. Okay, let me play this song for you guys. I'm gonna play a verse in this song here, and let me read the piece first. Should I put the piece up here, boy? Could I put it up on the screen? Let me see if I can put it up on the screen, right?
Get my glasses.
No, it's not there. Let me see if I can put it up on the screen. Hold on, eh? I want to put this up on the screen for you guys to see what I'm actually talking about, because I think it's kind of important. Okay, here it is right here. Let me see. Okay, here it is. Let me see if I could open that. And once I open that, let me see. Okay, here it is. Let me see if I could share this with you folks, so you guys can see exactly what I am.
Good night, Judy. Good night, Judy Desan.
Yeah, Judy, welcome. Let me see if I can share this. I want to read this for you guys, right? I want to put it up on the screen. Okay, I think this is it here. Let me see. Let me see if this is it. Okay, so it's on the screen. Let me see if I can enlarge it. No, I don't want that. Let me get rid of that. Okay, I don't think I can enlarge it, but so let me read it for you guys, right? This is a post from Ken Ali yesterday, and he says, "Spare us the hypocrisy. I always felt a tinge of discomfort when my publisher and mentor, Patrick Chocolingjo, I mean, many people remember him. I think he had the bomb papers, termed the PNM Women League as Fat Ass Brigade. But I wholeheartedly align myself with the recent views of Professor Selwyn Kojo. Kojo wrote a couple of weekends ago that while the Women's League has been vociferous in defending its leader, it's never had a conference or a consultation on parenting, poverty, scholastic achievement, or any of those topics that go to the heart of what ails the society, right? You know, and you can ask the question about any of the parties' women leagues. Do they have conference or consultation on parenting, poverty, scholastic achievements, right? Any one of them have it? True to form, the Women's League have darted to the defense of leader Dr. Keith Rowley against withering attacks from a no-holds-barred opposition politician, Anil Roberts. The salacious matter pertains to Miss Sharon Rowley, a lady whose public bearing is one of undoubted class to add to her professional success. Miss Rowley is a likable national personality, not at least for her reserved nature. Miss Omar Pandey had a different personality, but deserved no less regard. But when Calypsonian demolished Miss Pandey, a tramp among other obnoxious depictions, the Women's League never became agitated. In fact, in 1999, a year of endlessly vile calypsos, the Women League remained silent on the continuing issues about whether Miss Pandey qualifies for insult merely by dint of being married to the Prime Minister, wrote Express culture scribe Terry Joseph. Joseph, a dear friend of mine, gone too soon, commented on the vituperative piece of Doggerel, wow, winning public money and loud acclaim in a national competition for performers of the indigenous art. In that year, now listen to that, in that year, the repugnant Calypso, the stage's mind, trashed Mrs. Pandey's character and was rewarded with taxpayers' largest in the national competition, no less. So, Tommy, I wanna stick up right there.
Go ahead.
Tommy, so does that mean to say that if you are the prime minister or the wife of the prime minister, look how Anil Roberts trash Sharon Rowley? Eh? What's
You
the
see,
difference?
no, there's no difference.
That's what I'm telling you. This is an HDD, hypocritical, deceitful, and disingenuous, right? So it is not good for Sugar Aloes to write a calypso and trash Mrs. Pandey, right? But you don't say anything when Anil Roberts trashes Mrs. Rowley. I mean, make it make sense now, man. I could be way off base, Tommy. Correct me, Tommy.
You know, I was hoping that we wouldn't dignify Anil's diatribe, to put it bluntly. But we have no choice but to go there.
Yeah. So let me read on. In that year, the repugnant calypso, the stages, and we're gonna play that calypso just now, right? And when we're gonna follow up that calypso with another calypso, we're gonna put both sides of the spectrum. Trash Mrs. Pandey's character was rewarded with taxpayers' largest in the national competition, no less. So wait now. If I'm a Calypsonian and taxpayers' money funding the Calypso competition, I could only sing certain songs? I could only sing certain type of songs? So what I have to do, I have to write my song. The prime minister, the first lady, whoever have to come to the Calypso tent. They have to listen to my Calypso and they have to say, okay, you know what? It's okay if you make it to the big yard that we can use taxpayers' dollars for the first price to pay you. I mean, maybe I'm missing
taxpayers. I guess the only person who's paying taxes is the prime minister and his cabinet.
I guess so. So let me go on. Joseph noted that the despicable song reflected not only the opinion of the judges, but the view of a large percentage of the population, which thinks little or nothing of denigrating Omar Pandey. Right? What about Anil Roberts? What about that?
And he's not even a Calypsonian, he's a politician.
Yeah, indeed, a slew of contemptuous Calypso enjoy repeated encores at Calypso tents during that period and the subsequent tenure of Kamala Prasad Besessa. Right? You see where you're going already? In fact, Joseph, like me, a great fan of the tent, recalled that any anti-Pandey Calypso afforded any singer guaranteed applause. An anti-Pandey joke no matter how trite, purchased tremendous laughter and attacks on his wife equally hailed, even from women in the audience. Around that time, I recognized that longtime fans of the art form have been staying away from the tent, repulsed that Pekong has turned to persecution, heckling had become harassment. When they sing Chambers Duncy, where is that?
Of course.
When they sing that, Chambers Duncy, right? When Coco sing Lick Bottom African, what is that?
Right?
Eh? I wrote about self
when he was so saying he was a palace.
in a palace state of mind. What about that? We go play them. We playing them tonight. I wrote about self-inflicted wounds to the national culture. Tent operators and the top country's chronicler of all things, Calypso argued that critics were attempting to deny freedom of speech. Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course. You denying freedom of speech. I could sing whatever I want. And if it is against anything in Trinidad, they go sanction it. Remember they banned a few calypsos from the radio station in Trinidad, right? They did, right? They banned a few calypsos.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you could remember anyone.
From our young, we were banning certain calypsos that were too smutty, quote unquote.
Smutty calypsos, yes. Right? The Calypso tent, a cherished aspect of our national identity, has since gone the way of all flesh in the face of indifference from the PNM Women Leagues and other influencers. Banter is part of our tradition, but graceless personal assaults, to quote Joseph again, cheapen argument for freedom of speech. Right? Maybe the Women's League speak for rabid, unthinking PNMites, but not a level-headed society that's painfully conscious of the hypocrisy and double standard is a national discourse. Joseph pointed to that bigotry in the Women's League chilly silence when the wife of a then PNM party official was caught shoplifting in Miami. Nor has the Women's League raised its voice on Rowley depraved view of women, to quote the network of NGOs from as far back as 2017. Rowley must be responsible, Kojo recently wrote. The PNM Women League must cast out the beam from its own eye. Until it does so, the organization stands guilty of deceit and dishonesty and enjoys no national credibility. As for Choco's depiction, well, that's another matter. Okay, so that is Ken Ali, right? Let's go to Diana. You back? Is Diana back? Not yet. Okay.
No.
Okay, let me just say something here. Let me say welcome to. Let me say welcome. Troy Smith. Let me say welcome to Troy Smith. Nadia says she didn't walk today. There was plenty of rain. Oh boy, Dr. Shane Mohammed already is inside the village. Yeah. Let me say welcome to Rennie Mohammed. Troy Smith, welcome. Judy says, not one of those women leagues. It's absolutely nothing for female and children of TNT. Yeah, all the women leagues to do is to defend their party. That's it. It's just to defend it. It's just to defend their party. I mean, a women's league. I thought you're supposed to be fighting for women's issue. I don't know. The women league is just to defend
women and children issue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it, but Judy says Wall Street is absolutely wrong to trust each other in Parliament. Those in Parliament not setting proper examples for the nation and the youths. Of course, full 100.
Correct.
Full 100.
Correct.
Nuts Cake. Let me say a special welcome to you. Ken John says, remember it's all about people and country first above party. Yeah.
Don't tell Miss Possessor that.
Yeah, and then just today, was it today or yesterday? Something where they were supposed to have some meeting with the Prime Minister, and they were told that the councillors shouldn't go and meet the Prime. I sometimes I just don't know, man. Sometimes I think Sometimes I think as a tell we in truth, we need to stay out of our own Trinidad. We need to stay out of our own Trinidad business. Although we citizens of Trinidad, we need to stay out of we Trinidad business. Even though we live in America and we have dual citizenship and we are Trinidadians and we're very patriotic about Trinidad and Tobago, we should stay out of the business. Stay out of the business. And we should stay out of the business for all the people that we help to. Maybe we should stay out of that business too. Don't get in that business. You understand? No. Tommy, I think I know what it is. Stay out of the political business, right? But we can involve in charitable business, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Business.
That's all we need it for.
Right. That's it. What?
Other than that, drink water.
Yeah, drink water and mind your business. Nutscake say UNC Women League march for bread and butter recently. Okay. All right.
Bread and butter, that's nice.
When did they do that? Nutscake. Nutscake, I know. He said they ran for bread. Oh God. Nutscake, I think you're joking there. I don't know if that is real or what.
I get the bread from Duke, but the butter, I don't know. Where did I get it?
Yeah. I don't know they get any butter from them. I rather go to Chimuk and get any butter. Oh God. But you know what? Let's do this. Since Dr. Shane is already inside, let me go for a quick station identification. And then we're just going to bring him in. So it's in the village with the DAT triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. Stick and stay. Don't go nowhere. Coming back, we have with us political scientist, no other than Dr. Shane Mohammed. He will join us in the village when we return.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's in the village with the DAT triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. Now let's bring in our first guest, no other than Dr. Shane Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, welcome to In the Village with the DAT triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Since this is your first time in the village, we call ourselves the DAT triplets, DAT. D is Diana. Diana is considered to be Storm. I am Anselm or Wall Street or Slim. And T is for Tommy. Tommy is a commissioner here in Newark, New Jersey. Dr. Mohammed, welcome to In the Village with the DAT triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a busy day, but I'm really privileged to have been invited by you all to come on board and have a great discussion with you all.
You know what? I like when you say great. I mean, when you start to use those type of words, I will kind of raise the bar a little bit and say we will have a splendiferous discussion tonight.
Fantabulous.
Marvelous.
Be careful, Dr. Mohammed. He likes words that end in O-U-S. I don't know why.
We have a lot of there's a lot of things that are ridiculous in Trinidad. Superfluous, fictitious,
A lot of OUSs.
Yes.
A lot of OUSs. So, Dr. Mohammed, what piqued my interest, right? What piqued our interest was an article in The Guardian, and the headline was titled, "As PNM celebrates 7 years in office, political scientists feel government underperforming." And I said to myself, let's try to get Dr. Mohammed in here and we can talk to him and talk us through his analysis as a political scientist. Now, we also have Bishnu, Dr. Bishnu Raghunath. He normally joins us here. Dr. Winford James also joins us. Kind of tell the people the difference between a political scientist and a political commentator, so to speak. What's the difference between the two?
Well, the difference between the two is that political scientists, we have our qualifications in political science in both the undergraduate, the postgraduate level, and the postgraduate level as well. So we have, like Dr. Raghunath and I, we are both qualified at the level of PhDs, albeit from political science from undergrad to graduate and then to postgraduate. So that's the difference between political scientists because we earn the titles through the qualifications we hold, and political commentators, they may or may not have a first degree in political science, but are very much invested in what is going on in in the political arena, and via their reading and their understanding of how things work, are able to add their voice to the discussions.
Now, how long have you been at it as a political scientist?
I would have been added as a political scientist since 2020.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Right.
I am
So
one of those who know who people are aware. I'm not afraid to mix my words.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You know why it is that when you're a political scientist, right, and you have to either make pronouncements on parties that is factual but may not be in the best interest of that party. Why they consider you to be, well, if the UNC is in power, they say you're anti-UNC. If the PNM is in power, they say you're anti-PNM. Why is that?
That's a stigma. It's a political
You are
tactic, to be
listening to
quite honest.
WZYE LP
Um, the
95.9 FM.
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
it's a political tactic on the part of political parties. In fact, Mrs. Prasad Bissessa loves to use a very particular word, detractors, and she deems everyone who is not on board with her philosophy of politics um, to be a detractor. Um, it's a very stupid and again a superfluous, fictitious statement and description because I don't know if Mrs. Wasabi Sessa lives in post government, lives in La La Land or in or lives in her own world. But at the end of the day, her leadership is still very relevant to the to what is happening in terms of in the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. And as long as she's holding the role of leadership, she's going to come under scrutiny, whether she likes it or not, by persons who were once or are still politically affiliated with the United National Congress. In terms of the PNM has a different way of dealing with it. They simply do not acknowledge you as you are persona non grata. So you are not asked to sit on boards. You are not asked to sit on any interministerial committees. You are not asked to be a part of the governing structure, because they simply see you as an enemy of the state, and that's what I have been, and I have been since 2015.
Hmm. That's
It's
yeah.
it's it's, it's it's really it's really an archaic, very archaic way of thinking. Dr. Rowley is one who I he doesn't would not believe me, but the I had a lot of hope for Dr. Rowley when he came into office. I think that his huge fallout with with Mr. Manning and his his discussion and his presentation as being someone who is anti corruption and doing things the right way and all of that. It was very well orchestrated, it was very well put together, it was very well planned. Um, that it allowed persons to gravitate towards a man that stood up against corruption in his own government and ended up being uh, he ended up becoming the prime minister 5 years after. But Dr. Rowley is one who, what you see is what you get. There's no pretentiousness. There you go, another word for you all. There's no pretentiousness to it.
Hmm.
And that's a very unique characteristic in leaders. However, um, Barbara Kellerman, the author Barbara Kellerman, talks about bad leadership and good leadership. And while it is Dr. Rowley is what you see, what you get politician, he is not he's a bad leader. He's not a good leader. And the same applies to Mrs. Prasad Visesa. Mrs. Prasad Visesa has expired and she's yet to realize it.
Dr. Mohammed, you know you will get beat up for that. You-
I really don't care. I don't care. You see, at the end of the day, you all made a very important statement while I was listening, and you all were saying that maybe you all should drink water and mind your own business, and my answer to you all would be no. Don't drink water and mind your own business, because what you are doing is actually what I would say to the diaspora is you need to be more vocal. There needs to be more stations and more commentaries like this from a crew that is within the diaspora and across the different regions, because you have the power to influence. And look, like for example, I was listening to the news on the way to the television station this afternoon, and they were carrying an article about elections taking place in Kenya, and that flights are so fully booked up into Kenya.
Yep.
Train stations, buses, and taxis have all raised their prices because the demand for transportation to and into Kenya has become very high, because there's so many people who are going to vote in Kenya for political change. We need something like that to happen in Trinidad and Tobago. And those that are in the diaspora and have an interest in what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago should never be silent about what their thoughts and concerns are, nor should they ever renege on the responsibility, which is to come and vote.
As you said, Dr. Shane, many of us, and I'm saying many of us who live in the diaspora, are so patriotic about Trinidad and Tobago, but many Trinidadians believe we are not patriotic about Trinidad and Tobago. Because, for example, here at WZYE 95.9 FM, we were the poster station for exile and stranded citizens during the pandemic. Whatever side you were on, we decided that, those people that were exiled out of Trinidad during the pandemic, and we had many of them here in the diaspora, we were dealing with them on a daily basis. We felt that we had to take a stand, and we took a stand, and it doesn't matter whether it was the PNM was in government or the UNC was in government, or if this one supported the PNM and that one supported the UNC. We felt that was about country. So we took a stand for country, and they call us all kind of names, but it doesn't really mess with us. It really doesn't, because we understand that what we are doing here is very different. And to be honest with you, Dr. Mohammed, we invite people from both sides of the spectrum, PNM and UNC, right? In some radio station is only pro PNM or pro UNC or anti PNM or anti UNC. So,
You see, the issue that I have, and this is my philosophy, I believe that political parties, their jurisdiction and their role ends on the night of general election when one party or the other wins.
correct.
So therefore, there's no PNM, UNC, COP, you name it, after that party wins, because that party now becomes the government. And therefore, there's this thing about that it's a mantra that the PNM says. The PNM loves to talk about. It's said all the time, whether it is in a political rally or whether it is in a government setting where ministers are addressing issues or whether ministers are making speeches. They love to say this PNM government, and that's where they go wrong in the first place, right? There's no PNM government. It's the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And at the end of the day, you are not representing only PNM supporters. You are representing all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, those that live away. So therefore, I am of the belief that that's the first thing that is wrong about our system. We need to stop with after your party wins the election, and whoever it may be, they need to realize that that party is now, the role of the party just takes a back seat and has to go into what I would say some sort of taking a hiatus in terms of being in the forefront, and let the government now function. And the political party will have its role in a structure that is adjacent. So you would have the government and you'd have the political party, but the government is at the higher level, and the political party structure is there to ensure that the functions of a political party continues to run and continues to work and operate, because the political party is responsible for things like by-elections and local government elections and raising issues even against the very same government that they must support. But that does not happen in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, they believe that everything fits into one can, and it's a one fit all. No, and that is why there are so many people in this country that are marginalized. There are so many people in this country that feel that it makes no sense putting in an application for a house, a grant, you name it. There's no need to. There's a hesitation to go to the government to apply for any government service, because once you are not seen as or stereotyped as a PNM supporter, you're not going to get the assistance.
Dr. Mohammed, and Tommy, you can jump in whenever you want to. Dr. Mohammed, my philosophy is this, right? I believe that once a party comes into power, I believe the people in government should no longer hold a post in the party, and the party should now have a structure with people who are running the party that's different from the people who are in the government. Their responsibility is to run the government, right? The government of Trinidad and Tobago. And you have another management who's now going to run, right? The political leader is always going to be the political leader. But then you have the chairman of the party, the vice chairman of the party, the treasurer. None of those people are going to be in cabinet, right? So you have a separation, right? They can do what they have to do as the government of the people. And then these people here can run the party, the PNM or the UNC or whatever. I think that structure kind of makes a little more sense. But then we have people who are in the government, they're still in the party, and when the party having something, they're with the party, but they're in the government. I mean, it's. What do you think? What do you think? That's my
So
that's my idea.
I believe that the Trinidad and Tobago, and this was just a simple thing like the outcome of the UNC internal election, which was complete rubbish, and it was an orchestrated, corrupt, unethical practice, because we all know, those of us who were looking on, I did the numbers. When I looked at the numbers, the numbers, my numbers coincided with other people's, or with those who were actually putting themselves up and looking at where they would capture the highest number of votes. And because of Mrs. Prasad Bissasa's continued unpopularity, there was only a maximum, and I predicted that there would be only a maximum of 7,500 to 8,000 votes. And at about 5 o'clock on that evening, the news carried that less than 10% of the UNC membership turned out to vote as at 2 o'clock. And the truth is, by 2 o'clock, you have an idea of who has won. And in speaking with those persons who were looking at the numbers as I was, it was clear that she was leading in about 5 constituencies. It's always going to be 5 constituencies that the UNC will win, even when it's at its deathbed, right? Siparia, Urupuch East, Urupuch West, Princetown, and Naparima. Those are 5 of the strongest held political constituencies that the UNC has, right? At the end of the day, there is in the PNM right now, the political leader, the chairman, the lady vice chairman, the deputy political leaders, all except 1 or 2 are members of the government. The PRO is in the Senate. The youth officer, I think, is part of the government. In the UNC, Mrs. Prasad Bisasa, the political leader, her 1, 2, 3 deputies are in the parliament. a chairman is in the parliament. He is the MP for of Urupuch West. The vice chairman is in the party. The party organizer is in the parliament. The vice chairman is in the parliament. So you see, there's a lot of duality that is happening, right?
Right.
But and what should happen is, so there is a rule that the general secretary and the public relations officer cannot be members of parliament. So those are the two administrative roles, especially, that are not in the parliament under the UNC constitution. It is and the UNC structure of doing things is very different from that of the PNM. The PNM is much more organized, very structured, very procedural. The PNM has a system where they can operate in the duality because they understand the importance of ensuring that the party structure goes forward, because they have the general council, they have party groups, they have constituency chairmen, leaders, you name it, right? They may not be members of the parliament, but they may have a board position, they may be a councillor, say what. But there's still a line in the PNM between government and party. However, the PNM remains very true to the whole notion that they help themselves and their people first and everybody else after. The UNC does the opposite. They help the outsiders first and then their ground troops after. And
Dr. But some people may disagree with you on that,
They would, and that's fine. They're entitled to disagree with me on that, but they should first bring the evidence to show me. I always say to people, I have no issues with people disagreeing with my opinion, but at the end of the day, tell me and show me how is it different to what I am saying. Because at the end of the day, I've seen that the UNC structure as a political party has collapsed. There's no institution within the UNC, no arm of the UNC that is working as we speak, right? That is because everybody is like a chowman inside of the parliament. And everybody has their own agenda as to what they want for themselves in the future and how they want to meander their way to the top. Not necessarily what are they and how can they and what can they do for the people as we speak. If you were to peg the UNC leadership, and I made this point today when I was in the media house, if you were to peg the UNC leadership and the possible successors of the UNC, of Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, to the possible successors of Dr. Raoul, and there's 3 possible successors, either coming one after the next, or any one of them could come and could run and become political leader, depending on what is the party's plans and how the party, what it foresees for the future. After Dr. Rowley, you have Penelope Beckles, you have Dr. Amory Brown, and you have Brian Manning. After Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, you have everybody cutting up everybody to get to the top. There is no clear line. And if had Mrs. Prasad Bisesa given Dr. Khan the opportunity to come in and serve as the political leader while she serves as the opposition leader, we would have probably seen today a very different UNC structure and a very stronger UNC on a whole. To be honest with you, there's no level of hope right now for the UNC in the upcoming 2025 general election, even as the government continues to remain very unpopular.
But Dr. Mohammed, many people may say to you that they are looking at Rudal Munilal as the next political leader of the UNC, as a person, because we know Vasant Barant already ran. We know that, Dr. Khan ran. These are people who actually, and we know for a fact that anyone that's part in the cabinet and the opposition would not run against Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, right? We know that for a fact, and we see that just happen. And I think the same thing is going to happen as well with the PNM, that no one that's currently in the cabinet under Dr. Rowley can go and oppose him in the upcoming.
There's no plan for him to be opposed. Dr. Rowley indicated soon after winning this general election in 2020 that he had no real intentions to run again unless he sees a need. So he put his cards on the table and he's lined up his ducks. If you pay very close attention to particular ministers, Penelope Beckles was shifted from housing and given the portfolio of planning and rural development, planning and urban development. And that is because it's a more paper-based, policy-based ministry. Whereas Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis was given the Ministry of Housing and Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. I think planning and sustainable development it is. So she was given the portfolio that is more hands-on and deals with more pragmatism and giving out of housing and addressing the issues of housing and land and whatnot, right? So one, he's lessened Mrs. Penelope Beckles' her workload in terms of her ministerial portfolio, but at the same time, she continues to sit on almost all the interministerial committees that the government has created. Additionally, she has launched something called Penny on the Job, hashtag Penny on the Job. And she is in her constituency. She is on the ground every day, every weekend. She's accessible. That's one. Then you have Dr. Amory Brown, who played a very critical role in terms of Trinidad and Tobago's diplomacy as it pertains to access to COVID vaccines. You would be surprised to know that it was the diplomacy of Dr. Amory Brown and that of Dr. Parasram and the Prime Minister, as opposed to the Minister of Health, that was responsible for getting those vaccines into Trinidad because of Dr. Amory Brown's experience as an ambassador and being a diplomat. And then you have Brian Manning, who is in the background. You know, he is being groomed, he's learning the ropes, he's a minister in the Ministry of Finance, big ministry to be a minister in. So there's a line, right? But when you put all of those persons against, as you say, rightfully so, Rudal Munilal, Penelope Beckles versus Rudal Munilal cannot win. Dr. Munilal, the problem with Dr. Munilal, and as he give credit where it's due, I give him credit where it's due. Dr. Munilal in the last 7 years has tried his very best to rebrand himself. Whether he lost weight, whether he changed his hairstyle, whether he changed the way he spoke, the way he interacted with persons, his accessibility, his talking, meeting people on the ground, his manner of being seen at all fours and sports days and cultural events, all of that. He's tried his very best to rebrand, to change the look, to remove the stigma, to remove the whole description of him being corrupt. But he's been unable to evade it because every time he thinks that, okay, he's making a step in the right direction, bam, the Prime Minister comes with a report into the Parliament with EMBD and everything that fell under Dr. Munilal as Minister of Housing and a leader of government business and all of that. So, no, yes, he is the number one person that that can take the lead. But you have to also remember that Mrs. Prasad Bissessar will silently, she's the type of person who will silently endorse and then come out and tell the whole country that she's not endorsing, she's staying out of the elections, when in fact she has already put things in place for the person she believes should take the party forward. But other than Dr. Munilal, and if not Dr. Munilal, Dr. Khan, he had the truth about it is Dr. Khan won the internal election, and I will not say this on an international platform.
You really, he won? How did he win? How did he win? How did he win? Tell us.
I mean, how he win?
No, well, because the results didn't show that.
Yeah, because the results was a complete sham. Listen, results started. The first question that people started saying is in a general election where you have 750,000 people voting, right? You have results coming in from constituencies from as early as 8 o'clock. And by 10 o'clock, you already have an idea where your party is, where the direction your party is going. For a simple internal election, where you claim that less than 10%, which means 7,000 to 8,000 people voted, that you took until midnight to decide because there was a huge lull. No results were coming through from about 8 o'clock all the way to 11. And then all of a sudden, you saw Herbert Volney come out and he said, Fuad, he came on social media and he said, Fuad, claim victory. Go out there and say and claim your victory. Don't give them the upper hand, right? Because they are right. And that's the thing. His insiders said to him that they are padding the numbers in favor of Prasad Visasa. And I am not ashamed, nor am I afraid to say that I am telling you that is how the UNC works, and I'm speaking from a place of experience. That's how the UNC internal election works. Prasad Visasa, 11,000 votes, plus 1,000 for Glenn, 1,000 for Ramona, that's 13,000. And 600 for Dr. Khan, that's ridiculous, right? Where is the less than 10,000, the less than 10% that voted? And therein is where the Dr. Khan didn't challenge it because he was like, you know what?
So Dr. Mohammed, that's exactly the point I was going to ask. Why didn't Dr. Khan challenge it? If we knew for a fact that there was corruption and voter pardon in this election, why didn't he challenge it?
Because the entire system is governed by the political leader. Kamala is the one who chooses who the members of the elections committee is. She is the one who controls the election day machinery. Everybody who is on the outside, including if Munilal had decided to oppose her and run. In fact, Munilal should have run with Fuad and given Fuad the support and let Fuad take the leadership because he had a greater chance of rebranding Munilal and helping Munilal rebrand himself and then take over the leadership because Fuad is all about country. He's not about party only. And Fuad is a man that the UNC took for granted but not realized. And I worked with Fuad directly. I was Fuad's communication consultant in the last year and a half of in his term as minister, and I was able to show and to point out certain discrepancies that was taking place with a certain project that Fuad gave me full control of to rein the vendor in and have a feeling with the vendors on the 649 they were giving the organization. Now, I am saying this to say to you that right now, had the UNC membership been smart enough, they would have given Fuad the opportunity because he didn't intend to throw Kamala out as opposition leader. He wanted Kamala out as political leader so that he could put together and run the party structure as you rightfully envisioned, so that there would have been a duality of leadership in the UNC for the first time. In Tobago, there's duality of leadership taking place in both the PDP and the PNM. And it is working absolutely fantastic. That so much so that the PDP has to watch themselves in the run up to the next THA elections because the PNM could give them a good run for their money. And that whole 14-1 position that exists in Tobago with the PDP may only be a one-time experience for them. They could very well come back down to losing 3-4 seats, even if they win the elections, because the work that is being put into rebranding the PNM in Tobago is very different from the rebranding that needs to be done in Trinidad. And I can tell you that because I interviewed the minority leader a couple of weeks ago, and I was blown away by the humility of the individual. And I even went on to tell him that maybe, just maybe, the PNM Tobago could teach the PNM in Trinidad a little bit about what it is to be humble.
Yeah, they need some of that. They need quite a bit of that. I have to be honest.
They need manners. They need some. Let me be blatant with you. They need some damn manners. They're too out of control. They're too out of control and believe that them in charge and to hell with everybody else. That's not how governance works in a country that is right now trailing behind Guyana, Jamaica, and Barbados.
Dr. Mohammed. I have a question. I don't know if it was answered. I was away momentarily. I'm dealing with an issue outside my home. Um, Standard and Poor's gave Trinidad and Tobago a triple B minus rating, and apparently that is like on the cusp of risky but stable. Risky but stable. That is what the young lady told me when I called Standard and Poor's. All these allegations of voter padding and Dr. Rowley's behavior, the country's crime element, all these things. Does that go into the rating that Standard and Poor's assigns to Trinidad and Tobago?
What we have to remember, and what people don't know, is that when Vasant Bharat was minister, was a super minister, but an effective one. When he was minister of trade, industry, and investment, he created a platform called From Red Tape to Red Carpet, which is something that he had taken from Mr. Pandey. That was one of Mr. Pandey's dreams when he was prime minister. And the whole notion of From Red Tape to Red Carpet was, and it happened, it was implemented, and it was to remove all the bureaucracy that was involved in the ease of doing business. And therefore, he created IT platforms such as TT BizLink, TT Connect. Those were the two main platforms, the hubs in which persons who wish to do business outside of Trinidad and Tobago did not necessarily need to come into Trinidad and Tobago to begin the process of the paperwork and filling out the necessities required to start doing business. When the PNM government came into government, they removed that and they went back to being bureaucratic. That's one. Two, there's the Gold to Diamond initiative that was started by our former minister, Nan Ramgulam, who was unceremoniously removed as public administration minister and sent as consul general to New York. And her replacement, Karen Sipasad Bechan, was charged with the responsibility of carrying through with that Gold to Diamond initiative. Now, you will ask, so what is the Gold to Diamond initiative? The Gold to Diamond initiative was part of a strategy to decentralize, devolve responsibility, and complement the ease of doing business within the bureaucracy, meaning the public sector, which was supposed to complement what Vasant Bharat had implemented, so that there was a great level of synchronization within the government agencies. Now, the ease of doing business is very critical to what Standard and Poor's is going to be looking at. That's one, right? They are also going to look at what our direct foreign investment, which is directly linked to the ease of doing business, what it looks like. And our ease of doing business index has dropped. We have regressed in terms of we are highly bureaucratic and paper-based. We have a minister of national transformation and digitization. I don't know if he is digitizing the cables that have been cut by those people who are thieving copper every night in the rural areas.
What was that word you used now? Thiefing. You didn't say stealing. Thiefing. I like it.
Thiefing. They thiefing. Right? They thiefing. Listen, I am a PhD holder that don't put fancy words in my mouth because I believe I am a man of the people. They're damn well thiefing the people, the copper. From I don't know why one of them don't touch a live wire and just get an experiment going on. But they thieving the people copper, and we have a minister of national transformation and digitization, and I don't know if he's building up some sort of big, massive master plan to hide the copper and put it under the ground and let them go digging 6 feet to thief the copper. But he's done absolutely nothing thus far. That's one. So you look at, so I said foreign investment, ease of doing business, the access to foreign to foreign currency. Listen to me. I can't buy something on Amazon for and cross a $300 threshold. There's a block on my credit card. That is madness,
Yeah, that
right?
is
That is
madness.
one. That's madness. That's real madness.
That is
Then
madness. That is
you
madness.
go to the bank. You go to the bank. You could only get $200. So people are forced to go under the black market and pay $8 and $10 per US dollar, right? That's the kind of madness going on in this country. And Carl Mimbert could care less. He has a building on Picton Street in Port of Spain, a multi-story high-rise residential building that he recently finished on Picton Street in Port of Spain. It's going for, I think, 2.7 million per unit. And then he has another one in Maraval that I think is called the B Towers or something. Fancy motel. So these fellas are taking care of themselves. So when they decide to go into retirement, while the people of Trinidad and Tobago will never really go into true retirement because everybody, and forgive my language, is catching their ass on a daily basis because they are struggling for basic things. Caribbean Airlines up and say they've now only discovered that they are running a loss. It's an operational loss for Caribbean Airlines to add flights on the air bridge, an operation loss of $40,000 per flight. And if they were to take down all of the subsidies, it would cost us between $900 and $1,000 to fly over to Tobago for 20 minutes. Why? Why? You know why? Because Caribbean Airlines says, well, the cost of jet fuel is expensive. When did the cost of jet fuel become expensive? And when did Trinidad and Tobago start importing jet fuel? When, as far as I know, when we had a refinery operating and we were producing downstream products, jet fuel was one of the cheapest things that was available to the national airline, so that prices were not high, and we were making money from foreign airlines coming into Trinidad because the cost of jet fuel to foreign airlines were expensive. So therefore they would come, the only real airline that came to Trinidad and stayed overnight was United and American Airlines. And that still happens. No, it only happens with American Airlines. Most of the international flights outside of Caribbean Airlines that come to Trinidad now is a turnaround flight. It comes, it stays an hour, and it's gone. And they're not staying overnight because it's too expensive for them. But you can't tell me that Tobago wants to open its wings and go after acquiring financial independence and financial autonomy. And they are trying to build a market for themselves by opening up the airport later and for there to be greater air traffic. Prior to pandemic, we had a flight that used to be landing in Tobago from Trinidad at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. So so if you had a meeting at 6 o'clock, you could be on a 2 a.m. flight in Trinidad heading over to Tobago. Now, the last flight leaves Tobago at 10 o'clock and gets in by 10:59, and that's the end of that. So nothing seems to be going in a synchronized manner. Everybody's a silo. Everybody is operating based on their own vision, and nobody is dialoguing. The PDP has a vision. They want that they want to action. They want it to be by 2025. They want to see a lot of their projects and their plans materialize, but they're getting a hard kickback from Caribbean Airlines. Listen, I looked at a ticket on Caribbean Airlines to go to Toronto next week and spend the rest of August there, and I am seeing something like $1,300 US for economy ticket to Toronto. That's madness.
Yeah, that is absolute madness. I don't understand. I can't understand. We have an airline, and our airline is more expensive than any other airlines coming in and leaving Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct.
So
Very
then
much
what's the
so.
purpose?
Very correct.
So we just have to have loyalty to them and pay them more money than we go pay our
Because
next airline.
they have no competition. Had they had competition, they would find a way
No,
to,
but
to
of course
improve
they have
improve the
competition, Diana.
service.
There's
The only
United,
Well,
there's
they
American,
have
JetBlue is a
United.
competition with
yeah,
that.
but there's no flights going to Tobago from
No,
Trinidad to right. So if they had competition along that area, perhaps there would be, they would.
Oh, you
I don't
talking
but
about
know.
from Trinidad
what
to
I don't
Tobago.
understand, what I don't understand though, that within the region, within our region, there,
Mm,
what can the tourism and transport secretary in Tobago can make linkages with Inter-Caribbean Airlines, which has, let me tell you something. Prior to the pandemic and the collapse of LIAT, Inter-Caribbean Airlines was basically unknown to the wider Southern Caribbean because they operated within the Northern Caribbean. It is based in Turks and Caicos. And they were running Turks and Caicos, Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, only the northern areas, the northern islands, right? And the minute the LIAT collapsed, even during the pandemic, they started to build their routes. And they have now gone to every Caribbean country, including going from Barbados, establishing a route from Barbados to Guyana. And they have flown over Trinidad and Tobago. Inter-Caribbean Airlines has not come into Trinidad or Tobago. And there's no reason why Tobago cannot reach out to Inter-Caribbean Airlines to come to Tobago from Barbados or Grenada or St. Lucia. That's one. Then there's Antilles Airlines, which is a French Caribbean-based airline that operates in the northern islands of the region. They are actually established. Their home is in Martinique, I believe. They could also do a route from Martinique and Guadeloupe, and the French Antilles into Tobago. That's that, and that's two. There's Air Caribes, which is based in Guadeloupe, I believe, right? They fly directly from Guadeloupe using an A330 to France on a daily basis. They also use the ATR to fly around the region. They could also enter into the Tobago market. So it's not like there's no competition for Trinidad, for Tobago, and for Caribbean Airlines, because Caribbean Airlines is not only recently started operating a route, one flight from Barbados to Tobago, but I don't understand the thinking behind it, because the Virgin Atlantic and the BA, I believe the BA flight from that comes to Tobago sometimes comes from either Antigua or Barbados, and the Virgin flight that comes to Tobago I also either comes from Barbados or yes, actually comes from Barbados to Tobago. So you're tapping into, you're creating routes like a Barbados to Tobago, but you're not taking into consideration that you have these huge airlines that come into Tobago. And how much people are they bringing into Tobago? 50 on a huge jet or 60 on a huge jet? Because just as fast as they leave Tobago, they had to go back to Barbados and Antigua to pick up the majority of people that are visiting and go up the road. The question we have to also ask is, why is there not more synchronized, robust marketing strategy for persons to come to Tobago and for Tobago to become a more to benefit from an increase in tourism arrivals. They boast, this government and the Minister of Tourism boast yesterday that they opened the Comfort Suites Inn and Conference Center. Now, to be honest with you, if I'm a Trini, me and going and stay in Comfort Suites and Comfort Suites Inn and Conference Center, because it's near the beach. It just on the oomph outside of Scarborough. Yes, I could walk down the street and go to the bar and see the beachfront and that kind of thing. But I'd take a taxi at the end of the day to go to the beach in Pigeon Point and Boko and all of those places. So you've built a hotel, and even the politicians in Tobago says that the hotel is ill placed because sooner rather than later, a brand spanking new, um, maybe only for Carnival, it's going to get its opportunity to be booked up because Tobago Carnival is happening in October, right? But too many things. Again, I come back to say my mantra. Too many things are happening in silos, and the PNM and the PDP are not having a dialogue and discussion. The PDP has a vision for Tobago. The aviation, the former aviation director is saying, well, it's too expensive for Caribbean Airlines. But what are you doing in Caribbean Airlines business? Let Caribbean Airlines CEO say it's too expensive. You know? So it is talking out of turn as well. And a lot of that is happening. On both divides, I will give Dr. Rowley credit. He knew that when Terence Yalsing was talking about pack of rubbish, right? He knew when to take control of that runaway horse, put it to sit down on a table and take the podium and speak. And I will say this to you all. I use a very conservative word, horse.
Dr. Mohammed, I want to get back to something that you said.
Volume low, Anselm.
No. I didn't
You're
touch
better
it.
now.
Yeah.
Well, you're better now.
Yeah, I wanted to get back to something, right? You said that Dr. Munilal should have run on Dr. Fuat's Khan ticket. But that would have been a recipe for disaster, though. If he had done that, that means to say he's no longer loyal to Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa, and then she could have kicked him out of. He could have still been an MP, but she could have kicked him out of the Senate. He could have kicked him out of the Parliament, right?
No, she can't. She can't kick him out of the Parliament because that is not in her purview. Once he's elected as a member of Parliament, he's there for the next 5 years. That's one. Two, had he run with Dr. Khan and possibly looked at the chairmanship rather than deputy political leader, because the chairmanship is more powerful, Dr. Munilal would have been able to still win chairmanship. And I believe that if he had done that and ran with Fuad and sit as chairman and Fuad as political leader, they would have been able to hold an internal election, which is constitutionally due in 2024, on the cusp of that general election. Who knows? They could have come to an agreement where they say, listen, we're going to run another election and let's kick out some of these sycophants that Kamala has in the party structure. Let's put in some of the fellas with experience and let's rebrand and redesign ourselves and let's see what comes out of it. And then, Fuad is that kind of man. Halfway into his term as prime minister, he does say, Rudy, here what now, boy? I go in and resign as prime minister and let you take it over. And he does sit down comfortable with a ministerial portfolio and just chill. That's the kind of person that and I could put my head on a chopping block. I could put my head on the same block that they cut off Mary Queen of Scots' head on for Fuad Khan.
No, that's very interesting. Now, also, secondly, Dr. Rowley did say indirectly that he wants to go back up for a third term. Indirectly. And I have said that it's about time that the PNM get a new political leader to move the party in a different direction. Because I feel that the way that Dr. Rowley have left this party, the PNM, is not in the right direction. Now, I don't want to jump on Ms. Kamala Prasad Bissessa, but I think both of them should go as political leaders, the parties, in order for them, the parties and them. Because, Dr. Mohammed, some people say this, right? And some people say this, that the PNM should go and the UNC should go. To me, that statement really doesn't make much sense. That, we need the PNM, or the PNM people saying, well, we need the UNC to go. And the UNC people saying, we need the PNM to go.
Because you're a PNM supporter.
Say that again?
Okay.
You're a PNM supporter. I don't support none of the two. I support change, progress, reform, and well, hey.
But I'm saying that. Go ahead, Dr. Mohammed. Go ahead.
But let me ask you this, right? he says he has indicated indirectly that he wants to run. It is his wish to possibly, he said it indirectly that he wished to run for a third time. You have to remember that Rowley wants a legacy that outweighs money. And I don't care what nobody say. Rowley will always have to sit. He will always be in the shadows of Mr. Manning, dead or alive. Because when you look at Mr. Manning, yes, Mr. Manning made errors in the latter part of his political career. And I would say in the twilight of his political career, not even in the latter part. But Mr. Manning was able to take a party that only had 3 seats in the parliament and move it into government with 21 seats in 1991 against the opposition UNC and the NER, and topple the NER. People had no sympathy or empathy for the NER after they suffered under Abu Bakr in 1990 and voted them out completely, did not care who got shot, who got hurt, who dead, who was badly wounded. They didn't care if I was limping out of the parliament, and they saw that, they voted them out. And that is because Mr. Manning was able and was charismatic enough to bring the party forward by throwing out the old and bringing in new faces and creating a new image for the PNM, which led him to win in 91, led him to win in 2001 to 2002, 2007. In 2007, had the UNC and the COP really done their work and come together in the interest of the country rather than their own egos, which was what was at play, there would have been a huge constitutional landslide victory for the coalition of the UNC and COP against Mr. Manning. He would not have had a chance to run to have a government in 2007 to 2010, right? But all of Mr. Manning's achievements for Trinidad and Tobago was focused on development of our country on the international spectrum, re-CHOGM and the meeting of the Summit of the Americas. All of those huge buildings that he built when he was enjoying the high oil gas prices. He still did not enjoy the highest oil gas prices that the country that any prime minister has ever enjoyed, like Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who really and truly squandered the money for somebody who wants to be labeled as the mother of the nation. So Dr. Rowley will always have that echo and that little voice in his mind that will say, well, Patrick did this, Patrick did that, Patrick did the other. If you were to look at Dr. Rowley now and compare him to Mr. Manning, what is Keith Rowley's legacy as Prime Minister? There's none.
No, he renovated the Red House.
But he finished the Red House.
Well, he finished it. He spent half a billion.
He finished the renovation of the Red House and he opened the Children's Hospital and he renamed it something else.
Yeah, right? He spent $500 million on the Red House. He renovated the Prime Minister House. He renovated the Prime Minister House in Tobago. He renovated Whitehall. He renovated the President's House.
How that helped the ailing population?
He renovate like it's going on. He renovate. I find he should have gone into renovation rather than prime ministership, right?
Yeah.
But there is no real legacy for Dr. Rowley, and his legacy would be if he were to win a third consecutive election. No, don't fool yourselves into thinking that.
Dr. Mohammed.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Mohammed, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, he's hearing you. Go ahead.
I'm not hearing him.
Yeah, we're hearing you, Tommy.
As we approach our 60th anniversary, I will be thinking and hoping that we will be showing more political maturity, let's say in an instance where we would be saying term limits is what we would need for leadership, as opposed to one thinking, well, I'm going to be the prime minister for as long as I could possibly be, and that kind of thing. Well, what say you?
There's a lot of things that needs. Right now, there's a petition as we speak going on around asking persons to sign the petition for the airport in Trinidad to be renamed after Mr. Bandy, because that was his vision and he saw it through. Right now, also, both Fuad and I have said that the International Waterfront Complex should be named after Mr. Manning, because that was his vision. We are not magnanimous enough in terms of, and I'm saying we, meaning the politicians that serve us today, are not magnanimous enough. Let me give you something that is very real. She doesn't know that I know, but I do, and I will share it with the wider population. And I will give you, I was part of the UNC for a greater part of my youth, which if I had the opportunity to press reset now, I would press reset, because the UNC took my youth from me. And it took the youth, and that's the sad part about it, that the young people that supported Mrs. Basabi Sessa with the expectation that she would have been likened to Margaret Thatcher and Golda Meir, and even Chancellor Merkel. She failed. She failed miserably. She failed miserably in the region. She can't even fit in the shoes of Janet Jagan and Dame Eugenia Charles, much less for Mia Motley. So and my thesis says this, so I am not making any and I'm basing it and premising it on the evidence that I have researched over the years. Mrs. Prasad Bisasa is a failed leader and a failed political leader, and she failed as prime minister.
Careful, you're gonna get some stones thrown at you or
Let the
pelt at you.
bowlers come. Let the bowlers come. Holding a baseball bat, not a cricket bat. She is a failed leader, and she squandered the goodwill of the hundreds of thousands of persons that gifted her 29 seats. She made ministers fall guys when she very well knew that the policies that they were putting in place was going to move the country forward. Section 34. Section 34, friends, was a very good piece of law. It was actually the catalyst to restart and regenerate the criminal justice system, because I know for a fact, because I was part and parcel of working within the communications department of the Ministry of Justice, so I knew what the outcome and what the plans were for Section 34. There was multiple consultations on Section 34, and Section 34 had to be proclaimed prior to the opening of the law term, so that the registry for that would have been established to look at those persons that were in remand and awaiting trials for more than 10 years would begin operating and would have an index of persons that would be ready to face a judge and determine whether or not they would be able to plead guilty and take a lesser sentence, or whether their trials, the status of the trial would have been strong enough to go before a jury and all of that. That is what the purpose of Section 34 was. And that is the furthest, and anything that is said otherwise is furthest from the truth, because I saw Section 34 with my own eyes, and I saw Mrs. Basadi blatantly make Herbert Volney the fall guy. That's one. Mrs. Basadi Sessa had the opportunity to rename the international airport after Basil Pandy, and she refused to do it. In fact, she went and she named she gave her political mentor is A&R Robinson, because she was never a member of the UNC when it started. She's not a foundation member of the UNC. She is a come on board after the fact, and she was recruited by Pandy, right, to come into the UNC based on her abilities that he saw that she had. So she's not an original member of the UNC. So she renamed the Piarco, the Crown Point Airport after Anna Robinson. That's fair. Mr. Robinson served our country well. He deserved it. There's nothing. Mr. Winston Duperon was given the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Fine. Mr. McLeod was given the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Fine. But Mr. Pandey had done a great amount of work in the years that he served as an active politician, for the 40 years that he served as an active politician, and in the 6 years that he served as prime minister, it outweighs many other prime ministers that he stands up in comparison to. But yet, the PNM cannot honor Mr. Pandey, and Mr. Pandey has been nominated for the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and it has been rejected by the PNM. Mr. Pandey should be honored and the airport be renamed after him. He will be 89 he was 89 in May. He will be 90 next year. God's willing, he would have life and life abundantly, because Basil Pandey is a hero in this country in the eyes of both the old and the young. But
So,
we lack.
Dr. Mohammed,
The 60 years that you're asking me about, the 60 years of
Top of the
independence.
hour,
I
Dr.
want you to stick a pin right there, Dr. Mohammed. We got to go for a quick station identification. It's in the village with the dark triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us in the village tonight political scientist Dr. Shane Mohammed. We're going to be right back. Stick and stay. Don't go nowhere. It's in the village with the dark triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us tonight Dr. Shane Mohammed, and a political scientist out of Trinidad and Tobago. And we're having a very spirited discussion. Dr. Mohammed, continue where you picked off with respect to Basil Pandey. Yeah, go ahead.
So you know there are Mr. Pandey and Mr. Manning should be honored. We should be magnanimous enough to honor them. I think also it is unfortunate that the Privy Council would have ruled against the inquiry into the airport construction that is now 22 years old, and the government is still going to pursue the prosecution of these persons. That to me is anybody who is talking about it, and I have to be cautious what I say, but I feel that's I believe that a matter that is 22 years old, and there's a ruling from the Privy Council on it. After 22 years of having this hang over your head is really a travesty of justice. And, justice denied is, what they say, justice denied.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Justice delayed is justice denied. And that is exactly what is happening in this instance, right? Mr. Dr. Rowley is a man who doesn't like accusations against him in terms of the word corruption, and he doesn't appreciate being linked to corruption because he as well stood up against corruption. Now, do I think that Dr. Rowley is corrupt? No. Do I think that Dr. Rowley is inept? Yes. Do I think he is incapable of performing the job as a transformational leader? Yes. Do I think that he's a transactional leader and a push paper political leader and prime minister? Yes. And what do I think about Kamala Persad-Bissessar? She created the facade of being a transformational leader. She's a contingency leader. Everything for Kamala Persad-Bissessar has to be a contingency approach, because she must have something to fall back on, especially when the spears and daggers are facing her.
It's interesting, Dr. Mohammed. You had said, right, that let me read the quote, right? In rating the PNM's performance in the last year, Dr. Shane Mohammed found that the ruling party have failed to deliver to the population, and as a result, give them a 6, right?
A 5.
You give it a 5. You give them a 5, and Dr. Bishnu gave them a 6. So you gave them a 5. Why did you give them a 5?
I gave them a 5 because a 5 is fair. When you look at the entire government,
A 5 is
they
poor, man. A 5 is fair. A 5 is poor. You feel?
no, a 5 is 50%, right? A 5 is 50%. It's fair,
Yeah, but I
right?
teach in my class. I teach. If you get 50% in my class, you feel. You got F minus.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, in my class, when they get 50, it's literally a fair. It's a very fair, could do better kind of thing, right?
Oh, okay,
But
okay, okay. Yeah.
I,
50% in
I
my
need to
class is
enroll in his class.
yeah.
so
We'll be geniuses.
so mind you, I'm a hard marker. Um, and I'm one of those lecturers that I really invest time and energy into guiding my students, and then there's a time when I just let them go, and then I don't they don't hear from me. I don't take calls. I don't take emails because I've given them all that they need with regard to build their assignments and that sort of thing, and then I mark accordingly. But in rating the government as 5, I'm rating the government, and I find it to be a fair approach because I can't I can't ignore the fact that within the government there are a few good men that is carrying the image of the government,
Correct. I
and
agree with that. I agree with that.
I cannot also um, be unfair to the prime minister who I gave a 7 because I gave him a 7 based on what you see is what you get. Dr. Rowley is not a pretentious man. He's not he does not orchestrate or choreograph or uh, put on a wind. Then I would say makeup, but he doesn't use window dressing. He doesn't use props. He used none of those things.
He's not
He
transformational. Let me put it that
he's
way.
not he's not transformational, but he's also not false. He's not pretentious. He is what you see is what you get. I'm an
Yeah.
ignoramus.
Yeah.
I fly off my rockers. I say what I want to say. I both media personalities. I am uncouth. I am undiplomatic. I don't care
Oh,
if
no.
I go to a meeting
Hey,
and prime
hey, don't
ministers
be
don't
talking
speak
about
to
my
me,
prime minister. So, oh
right?
no.
Well, what you see is what you get, right? And that, in my opinion, is has to be graded fairly as well. Because unlike Kamla Prasad Bissessar, and that's the only person that we can like I heard you say you don't want to you don't like to throw um, too much pressure on Mrs. Prasad Bissessar or something like that just now. You don't like to jump on Mrs. Prasad Bissessar. Well, I like to trample on her.
Oh,
Mrs.
careful, the
Prasad
boulder's pelting.
yeah, and I batted, I batted. Mrs. Prasad Bissessar, I have seen with my own eyes, loves to be well choreographed, well put together. Um, she wants to make sure that every piece of hair is in place, that she can wear one of them fancy British hats, a fascinator, and look the part. She wants to come across as being the diplomat, and all of those things. And nothing is wrong with that. But that's a falsehood. And with that level of falsehood and orchestration and choreography, it also means that there's a disingenuousness to your prime ministership and really and what I call the realpolitik of who you are. Therefore, you are beholden to an image. You are beholden to the mirror on the wall. You are beholden to your choreographers and writers and dance instructors, and therefore you have not established yourself as a strong individual that is capable of um, standing on her own merit, save and except to say that she gave herself silk and she enjoys being called senior counsel, and that is her dream, and her dream achieved. It's no different to what Iana Robinson did for himself, right? So the government is a 5 because of men and women like Camille Robinson Regis, Penelope Beckles, Amory Brown, Kazim Hussein, um, uh, this lady, Paula Gopi Schoon, and to some extent, Prime Minister Rowley himself. So while we have trailers and while we have torters and while we have people we need to literally, light a fire under them to get them to act, we also have trailblazers and people. I mean, listen, this country under a prime minister as Amory Brown is going to be dynamic. And I can say that because Amory is more than just a diplomat and a gentleman. He sees country first. The same goes for Penny. But looks can be deceiving in some instances. And, I still believe that Penny has good intentions. Her heart is in the right place, but she lacks the charisma that Amory has. And while Amory connects, Penny is on hashtag Penny on the job, and you see pictures of Penny all over the country doing all sorts of things with everybody, anywhere, cooking, making, bake, you name it, right? If you tell Penny that she needs to clean the toilet and take a picture, she'll do it. But Amory on the other hand, is taking pictures with his family. He's spending time. He's sharing experiences of the past. He's sharing experiences in terms of his experience away. He talks about, he defended, and so did I. I defended Mrs. Rowley against the vitriol of Anil Roberts, who does not deserve to be in public office. He's just a very loud, obnoxious screamer. Who should have never have been given the opportunity to serve in the Senate. The Senate in all independent countries is akin to the House of Lords. My God, can you imagine Queen Elizabeth II appointing somebody as rowdy and obnoxious and loud and crass as Anna Roberts as a Lord of the House of Lords? At 96, she with all her senses in or out of being intact, she ain't that crazy. She ain't that stupid. But in the land of Trinidad and Tobago, we have an opposition leader that revels herself in the fact that Anil can bawl and bray and carry on in a particular manner and say things that is derogatory against the wife of the Prime Minister. The wife of the Prime Minister has done nobody anything, I have been to several public functions where she has been present, and that lady has embraced me and treated me with respect and regard, and she has shown herself to compliment Rowley, even when he's at his worst. She is the pillar that stands next to him and gives him the grace through her own grace that he requires to show up and shine. So I don't agree with the spouses and partners of members in the public who serve in public office being denigrated in that sort of manner. So 60 years down the road, there's a lot to still accomplish. We have not done one damn good thing to take this country.
Dr. Mohammed, what I find in Trinidad, right, in politics, there seem to be no unwritten line. There seems to be no line that politicians cannot cross. You have to say, you know what? This is the line here. This is the standard. The line is here. And both parties, if I'm a UNC or I'm a PNM and that politician cross that line, we are all going to stand up and tell that politician, no, that's it. But you have people on the UNC defending what Anil did, and the people on the PNM have to scream for what he did. And Mrs. Kamala Prasad better saying, well, you're calling my name for, don't call my name, and she just sitting idly by.
Listen, when she said to Camille Robinson Regis, where did you get your name? Your name is you get your name from the slave masters. Listen, I wish I was in that room to just vomit on that woman, because I think she lost her marbles at that point. And that's the thing. When Kamala Prasad Bissessa is unscripted, she's just as uncouth as Rowley, and even worse. Because up to this day, I have not heard Dr. Rowley ever speak ill about Dr. Gregory Bissessa, right? And there's a, and I also put out on Facebook the other day, um, about Anil, and I make no apologies for this. Um, for Anil to make that statement against Mrs. Rowley, he clearly shows he doesn't know the history of his own political leader. And I leave that right there. Let your minds go wild on that.
Well, as you say that, right? And I think we have to think about this. Devon Mirage put out a post that said, if you were supposed to put out a post with Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa on the policies with Chandra Sharma, what would other people say? I'm just saying what Devon Mirage said.
Right. And listen, Devant is not one of my most favorite people in the world, because I think he also squandered his opportunity as a member of parliament and a minister of government. But that's only one that Devant was being very kind to Mrs. Prasad Bissessa as well. And it's unfortunate that he had to call Chandrish's name in the melee, but he and all don't know the history. There's much more.
I got to tell you, I'm very active in politics in this country. And I remember when Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa came here and she stayed at the Brooklyn Marriott. You know, I was told by a person who was driving Miss Kamala Prasad Bissessa. I'm going to leave it there. Let me leave it there. I was told by a person.
And I was there. I was there
there
in New York. I was there in New York, and I was there when they were driving through Brooklyn, and when they went to that auditorium in Brooklyn. I was there.
Okay. So people know I'm not telling lies. You know, I remember.
No, you're not.
Because
you're not telling
I
lies.
know the person. I know the person who was the driver, because the person is affiliated with the consulate.
Correct.
So, and that was a friend of mine's, you know. And I was like, really? He said, yeah. I was like, okay.
People who live in glass houses that live in glass houses with very thin glass panes should never attempt to even throw pebbles.
But Dr. Mohammed is interesting, right? You know, it's only because I hear you say that, jog my memory to that, and here you are confirming exactly what I said. But you know, if I had said that, you know, somebody would have said, oh, he against the UNC, he only talking against the UNC, you know. But I was there, and I know the person personally, and they told me, and I was like, wow, you know. So at least people know that there are facts, and I want to go back to one thing, right? Now, I hear with the slave master name, right? And then Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa on emancipation had a headline. I forgot what the headline was. And we should never forget slavery or whatever support. And I'm saying to myself, but wait a minute. You was talking about a person on a slave master name some months ago. And here today you telling people, but you should never forget slavery. So you didn't want her to forget slavery, right? Because you telling her you have a slave master name. And then on emancipation, you are coming and telling people, well, you should never forget. You know, I have an acronym, and it goes to many of the parties in Trinidad. A lot of them is in HDD. You know, you have high definition television, right? HD. A lot of them are in HDD. They are hypocritical, deceitful, and disingenuous. So a lot of them.
Oh, I love that. I need to write that down. HDD. I will write that down and I will use it.
Then
hypocritical,
deceitful, and disingenuous,
and disgusting.
Disingenuous. Listen, there's so many others as well we could add to that, man. But listen,
you could add on. Just add on to it, man. Because what it is,
false. We could take an F and throw it in there and let that F be anything anybody wants it to be. You know what is happening in this country?
Yeah.
You know what is happening in this country? We can and I don't understand why our people are so passive. There's a great amount of people in this country that doesn't vote. Okay, to vote is your right. And if you are not happy with PNM or UNC, that's fine as well. You are entitled to not vote. But every time there's a third opportunity, an opportunity of a third party coming on board, people have now started saying, well, a third party didn't work. A third party didn't work 15 years ago when there was a much lower voting population. Why are we going to continue? Why do we not give the third party an opportunity to really prove that it can give us the momentum, the expectations, the change that we require? Because
that's what I say.
What you're going to continue voting against the black votes, against the Indian votes, against the traditional votes? No, it doesn't work like that, right? We, unless, and I had the honor, to be honest, I really am. I think you all should follow Calvin Morris, the minority leader of the THA. I think you all should follow him.
Yeah, we're gonna bring him in here. We're gonna bring him and have a talk with him.
Extremely humble. Extremely humble.
But Dr. Shane, I want to stop you for a little bit. You know, we have a lot of humble people in opposition, you know. And when they get into power, that humbleness does go in the sub-basement.
You name for me one.
With humbleness?
Yeah, with humility.
Well, Dr. Rowley.
Dr. Rowley what?
As far as
Dr. Rowley, nothing.
As far as well, I know him more from on personally, right?
Hey, Dr. Rowley, nothing. You know why?
Why?
He's unapproachable. Unless Dr. Rowley believes that you are an ally of the PNM and the party and himself, he is unapproachable, and he is blatantly unapproachable, right?
I don't disagree. You know who? I'm not going to disagree.
You know who is humble? Emery is humble. Kazim Hussein is humble. You know who looks are deceiving, and when I tell you I was pleasantly surprised, I was really pleasantly surprised. I was actually at the airport one night. I believe I went to the airport to drop off a relative or something. And when I turned around, I saw Minister Camille Robinson-Regis. Now, one of the first things I didn't realize that she was a small lady in terms of stature. She's short, right? She doesn't look short in Parliament on TV. One. Two, I walked up to her and I said, "Hi, Minister." And she embraced me with a hug. And she said, "How are you?" I said, "I'm well." I said, "I'm writing my thesis, and I'd love if you could be a part of it." And I said, "Minister, I am a bit taken aback by your personality and that embrace and that kindness you just showed me." And she turned around and she said to me, she said, "Shane, let me tell you something. First and foremost, I am a person. I am an individual. I am a human being. Second of all, I am a nationalist and I am a patriot of Trinidad and Tobago. Thirdly, I am, well, secondly, she was a mother and a family-oriented person. Then she was a patriot of Trinidad and Tobago. Then she was a minister and then a politician. So in her role and in her life and in her thinking, politics, being a politician is is way down at number 5 on her list. There are many people that are existing today that politician is on the top. Colin Imbert is one. Colin Imbert is the perpetual politician, and as he is never going to change from being that individual. In fact, he's the harshest of them all. I've had the opportunity to meet with Fitzgerald Hines. Fitzgerald Hines is also one of those people who he is a strategic politician. He is very versed in using political jargon.
Very linguistic.
He can,
He's linguistic.
Listen, he could tie anybody up in a debate with the kind of
He
words
should be
that
Minister
come
of
up
Communication. He should be Minister of Communication.
He should be Minister of
He
Communication.
should
That's
be.
very true.
Yeah.
Right? Because he has the ability to do it, and he has the
Excellent.
ability to represent the
Yes.
government well and the
Mhm.
agenda. But you know, there are really nice people. I'll tell you, Dr. Lakram Bodo on the UNCN is very humble, a very humble man. Rodney Charles is a very humble man.
I like Rodney.
And
Straightforward. Straightforward.
Anita Haynes.
Oh,
Haynes.
she's
Oh my God,
yes.
she's
We
creme de la
we had her
creme,
here
right?
too. We had her here. We had her here.
So we have really nice, good
Adrian
people
Leance.
also on the opposition side.
Yeah,
But
Adrian Leance, yeah.
the people who are well intentioned on the opposition side, their political career and their political aspirations for the country, not just themselves, is at the risk of being extinct because they don't know how to rid themselves of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. And as long as Kamla Prasad Bisesa is leader of the opposition, the PNM remains in government. That's a fact. Unless a third party comes along and mash up the place.
So now that we're talking, let's quickly talk about a third party. Where do you see the PDP? By the way, Dr. Mohammed, before we go, right? So you kind of has highlighted that given the PNM of 5 and you call a certain PNM, people, going forward though, what are some of the things you think the PNM needs to change? Because the perception on the ground is not the best perception of the PNM right now. What are you, if you had to recommend some of the things that need to change, they got to do it as quick as possible. What are some of the recommendations you would say?
Let me just put it on paper for you so I don't tire myself. And I want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Rowley's recent reshuffle, right? That reshuffle was incomplete. Why was that reshuffle incomplete? I'll tell you why. One, I would have removed Terence Dial Singh forthwith as Minister of Health.
Oh God.
And make him a minister in the office of the Prime Minister with no portfolio. Second of all, I would have moved Amory to health.
To health.
Right? So Amory to health.
Mm-hmm.
I would have moved Paula from
Ministry of
Trade and Industry.
Yeah.
And I would put her into Foreign Affairs because she has that experience.
Okay.
I would have moved Kazim Hussein from Rural Development and put him into Trade and Industry. I would have put I am 100% in support of the Prime Minister appointing senior counsel as
Attorney General, the Attorney General.
As Attorney General, yeah. Right. I am very much and I think that Faris in rural development is a good move because his charisma and is what is going to take him.
You could see he has had an impact,
far, right?
He has had an impact there so far. What about housing and planning? What about housing?
So housing and planning would have definitely stayed the way it is now, which is Penny would have been in housing and Camille in housing and Penny in planning. That stays. But I would have also moved left Stewart in national security. I would have left Stewart in national security. And I would have looked outside for somebody for energy. And I would have brought in Conrad Enel for energy and not make him a high commissioner to Guyana. And I would, that would have been my changes.
What are you doing for Fitzgerald Hines, man?
Fitzgerald Hines I would have given him communications, or I would have put him back as a minister in the office of the Prime Minister with the responsibility for communication.
So you'd have given him the Nobrega position, where the Nobrega is.
Yeah.
As
The Nobrega is I call him the minister that has been sworn to silence. He does not communicate whatsoever. I don't see the need to give him a portfolio.
What about
don't-
that guy, McClatchy? I don't really hear from you.
Tourism? He's tourism.
No, that's
McClatchy is labor.
Sport.
Yeah, McClatchy.
He probably is
labor,
in
yeah.
labor. He probably is in labor. That's why he's so silent.
Oh,
He's probably having contractions and all of that because he hasn't done anything for the labor movement.
We really do. I don't hear about that guy. You know, I really don't hear about him.
You listen, Errol McLeod was an effective labor minister. Jennifer Batiste Primus was an effective labor minister because you heard them. They were front and center of negotiations with the labor movement, right? You know, Stephen McClatchy is just warming a seat and collecting taxpayers' dollars as a salary.
But what about the Minister of Public Utilities, though?
Marvin is pretty good. Marvin Gonzalez is good there. I'm pleased with him being there.
And what about works?
Ministry of Works.
Well, wait. Let me tell you about. I will come to this idiot.
Oh Lord.
There's one issue that I have with three ministries.
Right.
The Ministry of Works and Transport, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Ministry of Social Development are both three ministries that are served by senators. That's my first problem. Those three ministers should never be senators. They should be members of parliament. Because as members of parliament, they are able to understand the ground, understand the needs of the people, understand the basic amenities that are missing. The same way that Marvin Gonzalez is a member of parliament and he's in public utilities, is the same way that Rohan Sinan should not be Minister of Works and Transport. He can be minister of anything that does not connect him to the people directly. In fact, he can be Minister of Public Administration for all I care, right? But those three ministries touch and concern the basic amenities for the citizenry: agriculture, social services, and roadworks. And if we could get and drainage. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Mohammed, do you think that in not doing the reshuffling the way you have pointed it out, in a way, Dr. Rowley is cementing himself as leader and not and there's no one to really, threaten his position because they don't have the technical know-how, by misfitting them in the different ministries, then they can't rise up to the threat to challenge him.
No, because you see, it is never about the popularity of the Prime Minister, and he's not. That's another thing about him. Dr. Rowley doesn't have insecurity issues like Kamala Prasad Bissessa. And that comes naturally from the man is as confident and as arrogant and abrasive as can get. I tell you, I have no issues with that. I have no issues with a prime minister being aggressive, arrogant, abrasive, uncouth, undiplomatic, but just do your work. Do your work. Manage the country. You can't want to be and I go talk in broken language. I fed up talking in the fancy language. You can't want to do give the people, you can't want to be prime minister and you want to retain your bad attitude and your stink personality and not do the people's job. Do the people's job and keep your stink attitude. They go say like your Machiavelli said that. Machiavelli said that it's better to be loved, it's better to be fair than loved and loved than fair. He said it. It's better for people to fear you, right? Nobody fear Rowley and nobody like him.
Oh,
so really and truly, where does he stand, right? And at the end of the day, Machiavelli also went on to say that when you don't do the work of the people as a leader, they are going to turn against you. And when these people turn against you and you lose power, that's it. You are politically irrelevant.
Cancel Christmas, it's over.
And that is what is, and I can, let me tell you, that is where Kamala Prasad Bisesa is. If Kamala Prasad Bisesa is in the realm of politically being is politically relevant, she is never. I don't know if she needs the Holy Mary, Mother of God, to give her an epiphany in her sleep one night when she is not under the influence of spirits, right? But she needs to know that her political career is over.
But Dr. Mohammed, that's the problem that I find with the political parties, right? In that there is no, well, let me don't say there is not a lot of activists that calls out their party leaders in order to make the party better. They rather get along to go along. You see? They're not going to call out their party and say, well, listen, all you ain't doing this right, all you ain't doing is PNM or UNC. Everybody just sit idly by and say, well, you know what, boy, me saying that because if I eat enough food, I don't want nobody take my food off my table. You understand?
But they're quick to pirate and sell the video maligning the First Lady of Trinidad and Tobago. Go ahead.
But I'll tell you this. I am very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I'm really disappointed in Dr. Fuad Khan's colleagues. None of his colleagues, with the exception of Vasant Bharat and Ramona and Glenn Ramadasing, came forward to really help him. And it is because people had their own agenda. Everybody wants to, in the UNC, everybody wants to be the leader, right? And you have to realize, and at some point in time, that you are either too old, you lack the charisma, you lack the charm, you lack the abilities that are needed to move a people. Fuad can move a people. Fuad is able to be diplomatic. He's able to be undiplomatic. He is able to be very well spoken and very well measured in what he says. But he's also able to buff the country if he needs to buff the country. And you want that balance, that Bastille Pandey, Patrick Manning balance that existed. And when you were talking about the line that is drawn in terms of the limitations of the politics, Bastille Pandey and Manning are two examples that knew exactly when to draw the line and where to stop. You know, and it seems as though that both the current leaders of both political parties have not learned or refused to even adopt any of that. For example, as bad as Donald Trump was as president of the United States, a lot of his policies and a lot of his approaches, albeit in his own skin, he tried to emulate Ronald Reagan, but nobody could. You can't. Let me tell you something. There are American presidents that have left a huge legacy that nobody could ever emulate or shadow. You know, and that's something that Trump didn't understand, and he didn't. He also did not understand his role in the office. He took his role as president as if he was a corporate entity and a businessman still. That's why the United States, it was the way it was. I can tell you, I will never in my life travel through Miami International because I was almost at the verge of being strip searched by a redneck in immigration at Miami International for no reason, because my passport was stamped with immigration from Venezuela and Suriname and all of those places. I went to Suriname and Venezuela to do academic research. I went to Venezuela to get a first-hand understanding as to what were the hardships that people were facing in order to present it at a conference in Spain. And this immigration officer for nothing could have understood that until it was an African-American immigration officer that realized that I was being brutalized. And he was the one that came forward and said, but why are you taking so long with this with this passenger? What is the problem? You know, but it took 2 hours. If that particular immigration officer did not show up at that point in time, I would have probably been in there 3-4 hours, to the point where when he gave me a big long slip, an orange slip to walk through I think there's the walk of shame in customs, and to get my luggage. And I did it. And you know, what was even, for me, what I feel even more shame about is that one of the porters was a Trinidadian, and he said, Trinidad or Ghana? I said, Trinidad. And he said, don't study it, brother. They just do everybody that. And I was like, oh, but this is madness. And even when the guy was checking my luggage, I said, I said to him, I don't have to stay here. I could go right back home on the afternoon flight that's leaving in a few hours, and I'll be okay, because I feel already dejected and humiliated at the end of the day. And he said to me, he said, sir, I'm really sorry. I apologize on behalf of my colleague. And, he said, but I have to open the luggage. I said, go ahead and open the luggage. There's nothing there that I am ashamed of. You go get some drawers, you go get some t-shirts. Just so I tell him, I said, it's only 3 days I here for, partner. Right? But, I'm saying all of that to say that Dr. Rowley is not insecure that he cannot effectively and efficiently reshuffle his cabinet for them to be high performing. Because at the end of the day, he has said it, and I admire him for saying it, the buck stops with him. Whether it be a bad buck or a good buck, the buck stops with him. And so they are good and bad to his leadership. And with that good and bad, he also have his supporting actors that come together to really push the government forward. Other than, if the government was lacking particular individuals, all hell will break loose in this country. And that's a reality, because we have no opposition. And you were asking me about the third party.
Yeah, the third party. You think the PDP can have an effect on the politics? No? Why not?
Let me tell you what is going to happen. We just passed the Sexual Offences Amendment Act, where we established the sex offenders registry, right? Watson Duke is going to be on that sex offenders registry because he's charged with a sexual offense. That by itself eliminates him as a prime ministerial candidate. That's one. And the chief secretary of Tobago is only focused, and he is steadfastly focused with like a horse with blinders in a race on Tobago's development. So not the PDP. If you ask me about the National Transformation Alliance with political leader, possible political leader, or interim political leader Gary Griffith, then we looking at something that might be fruitful. But to be quite honest, Trinidad and Tobago needs Gary Griffith to return as Commissioner of Police, because we are all not perfect, including Prime Minister. He's not perfect. And he has to realize that the country, since Gary Griffith has been removed as Commissioner of Police, crime has escalated. Petty crimes has escalated. Robberies and home invasions have escalated. Murders have escalated. And murders are happening blatantly in front of crowds. Drive-bys have increased, right? So we're in a bad state. And the Commissioner of Police said to the media the other day that he's not a politician, he's a policeman. Well, if he's a policeman, then he doesn't deserve to be Commissioner of Police, because if he's simply just a policeman, he's telling us that he lacks leadership qualities. Because a policeman, in my book, is one who starts off at the bottom of the hierarchy as a PC or a WPC. That's a policeman. But as you climb, you become a corporal and an inspector and a superintendent, and you go up and up and up and up. You are the acting Commissioner of Police. Whether you like it or not, your office requires you to understand leadership both at the public administration level and also at the political level. And I tell my students, and I will tell everybody that asks me, politics, whether you like it or not, is the foundation. Political science is the foundation of state and governance. Without political science, there's no state and there's no government and there's no governance. We will still be bartering for fruits and vegetables and living in a state of nature as envisioned by Locke and Rousseau and the other one, the other philosopher, right?
You know, Dr. Mohammed, I have great difficulties with Gary Griffith on One Shot, One Kill, in that I know that there was a perception that the country was safe. But I felt that when you are going to have that type of policy of one shot, one kill, I think, killing innocent people is unacceptable. And then when you kill an innocent person, then you have 8 cops being charged, for killing the guy. Then you have 2 police officers being charged for killing one of their own. And the police officer that lied about the guy, and the guy didn't have a gun or anything, and he was set free. So I think the one shot, one kill policy, I've set a type of precedent in Trinidad and Tobago where now there's always an accessory to crime. I understand that. But the one shot, one kill policy seemed to me that too many innocent people. Another guy fell off a chair and died. 3 guys get shot in Mova. You go to Moruga, 4 people were killed in Moruga. I mean, the one shot policy was good. I think that it's going to be difficult for the prime minister in order to put Gary back when Gary has said so many negative things and derogative things about the prime minister.
But at the end of the day, that's the politics of it, right? And Gary and Dr. Rowley have had their misunderstanding, and it has gone into the public's domain, and it should never have gotten into the public's domain. And I think when it got into the in the public's domain is when the Prime Minister said he took the liberty to say that he lost confidence in the Commissioner of Police a year before. And the Prime Minister is not the boss. He's not the boss of the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police answers to Parliament, and he answers to the commission that appointed him. And ultimately, he's really accountable to Parliament for his actions and his performance and his achievements and whatnot, right? In a prime minister saying that he lost confidence without evidence if I am prime minister and I say I lost confidence in the commissioner of police, I should be able to say I lost confidence in the commissioner of police because in assessing the commissioner of police and in meeting with the commissioner of police, several of our weekly meetings or whatnot, I found that there was X, Y, and Z lacking, questions to be unanswered questions to A, B, C, D. Those things would have added credibility to the Prime Minister's arguments. However, you can't simply come and tell a country that you've lost confidence in a commissioner of police and your commissioner of police has a popularity rating that is higher than yours. Right now, Gary is not commissioner of police, and 97% of the population wants him to return as commissioner of police. And I think everybody deserves a second chance. For example, Dr. Rowley was given a second chance when Mr. Manning chose him to run for the seat of Diego Martin West in 2010. There has been no other outburst by a prime minister in the parliament about the conduct and behavior of a minister of government who would go on to become his successor. So Dr. Rowley was given a second chance by Mr. Manning. Dr. Rowley was given a second chance by the population in 2020. Mrs. Prasad Bissessa was given more than second chances, and she failed. Right? Why can't we give Gary Griffith a second chance? With him understanding that there were errors that was made, he needed to, and I've interviewed Gary on my show as well. And I put to him, I asked him blatantly, I said, Gary, are you corrupt? And he rocked back and he laughed and he said, that's asking a drug addict. That's like asking what kind of question is that? He said, that's like asking.
But Dr. Mohammed, here's the problem that I have, right? And Ellis is saying, Gigi said that if a gun is pointed at his officers, they should be shot. He said, what's wrong with that, Wall Street? Well, Ellis,
you should be shot, but he didn't say killed.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with if you, as a bandit, point a gun at the officer and he blow you away. I don't have a problem with that.
Neither me.
I mean, if you're a police officer to defend yourself to go home to your family, a man point a gun and blow him away.
Yeah.
Don't even waste your
I
time.
agree.
Blow
and
him
that
away.
is the one shot, one kill policy. Kill him.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But if the fella don't have a gun, the fella
don't have a gun. If you don't have a gun, then obviously there's no one shot, one kill policy there if you don't have a gun.
Yeah.
If he is running at you with a cutlass, shoot him in the foot so he fall down.
But listen, right? Even if you're running at you with a cutlass, blow him away.
Ooh, Ansel, be careful.
You see, you still saying blow him away,
yeah,
right? And I am still saying if he running with a cutlass, shoot him in the knee so he fall down, right?
He putting your life in jeopardy in order for you to go home to meet your kids.
But
I don't know what you do
in
with
America, what happened to tasing? If he's coming at you with a cutlass, why kill him?
Tasing, he has to be at a particular distance from you, which might be too late. Which might be too late. The best thing is to either blow him away or shoot him in the knee.
Yeah, but listen, I don't.
No, but there are tasers that can reach a certain distance. Yeah, you don't have to kill him or maim him. You can make him temporarily disabled.
With a bandit,
I don't have a problem with that either.
Going after the police, and the police put them to rest. I have no problems with that. However, I have a problem with unarmed people being killed.
Shot in the back.
Being killed. And then the police going and write report that's lying. If they could write reports like that they're lying, much as what else they could do.
No, but you're right. So, you're very right. And Gary, one of the things that Gary identified is that there was the issue that he had is that what do we do with corrupt police officers? Now, I made a comment and it gets some blues. I get some blues for it. I made a comment about it may be time to adopt some measures of Sharia law into Trinidad and Tobago in order to show the strong arm of the law, right? And several persons said to me, Sharia law? I said, yeah. And it is written in the Bible, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? But when I say Sharia law, if we don't start using stringent measures to teach criminals a lesson, then when and how do you expect, and this is a general question to everybody, when and how do you expect crime and criminality to come to a controlled number or a controlled issue? It's not going to go anywhere. We have we have this issue, and I took it up yesterday, and Joseph Tony, Larry Lala, and several other lawyers came on and said to me that they defended the bail for murderers, right? They defended bail for murderers as a human right. Let me tell you something. My thing is this, and I said to them, Gavin Nicholas came on board as well and said that, his 2 cents. And I said to them, I said, well, show me give me the statistics of show me the statistics or give me the statistics of
Caller,
the last 20.
Hold on, caller, hold on. Go ahead, Dr. Mohammed.
Give me the statistics of the last 20 years as it pertains to persons arrested for murder, convicted of murder, and those that are awaiting remand, awaiting trial in the remand. And I was told by Governor Nicholas, who's a former Attorney General, that that is my job as a political scientist. I should go and look for that information and present my argument, right? And I was like, why? You want me to go and write a whole thesis? He said, well, no, that is in standing with your qualification. So you also have people who want to say, they want to defend a position, but when the person who is challenging that position asks you to present the information so that I can analyze it, they say, go get it yourself. You understand? So
yeah, Dr. Mohammed, hold 1 minute. We have a caller. Hello, sure. Caller, you're on WZYE 95.9 FM. Welcome.
Yeah. Good night to the panel. Good night, Ms. Diana and Slim and Tommy. Good night. I'll listen to
we have with us
Mr.
Dr.
Mohammed.
Yeah, go ahead. Are you hearing him, Dr. Mohammed?
Yeah, I listen.
I am, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I listened to Dr. Mohammed and some of the statements that he making there. Some I agree with and some I disagree with. I want to find out from him what make him so confident that he's supporting Gary Griffith to get a second chance. Why Gary Griffith really deserves a second chance? Because to me, Gary Griffith have a lot of questions hanging over his head. Right? Why, like some of the police killing, for instance, like the one in Steelers, where they went down Steelers and killed this boy down there. They didn't have a shootout or anything. I ain't hearing nothing about that or even an investigation taking place, and you ain't hearing anything about it. Then you have the other killing. Look at the boy in Devon Martin. If that boy didn't get away and make a tape, you know he was marked for death. And even he make the tape and put out thing, and they come to realize that he was innocent in the whole play. They still circling around his house. He can't go to work and all these kind of things. All these things going on because to me, the temperament that Gary Griffith, I don't really call him that, but just for peace sake, I will call him that on the program.
All right.
The mindset that coming with the one shot, one kill and cockroach and all, giving these officers the sort of mentality as though like the citizens have no rights. You can't even watch them. You watch them, you could get a death and all this kind of thing. And I have serious problem with that. And I don't support Gary Griffith for no second chance. I don't know how you feel about that, but that is just me.
All right.
Have a blessed night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Mohammed, that's what our loyal listeners here in the village.
The caller is more than entitled to his opinion, and I understand where he's coming from. But what gives me the confidence that Gary Griffith deserves a second chance is, I will use a phrase from Basti Pandey. Performance beats old talk anytime. And statistical evidence shows that when Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, crimes went down.
Well, Dr. Ahmed, I want to stop you there. Under Gary Griffith watch, Gary Griffith had the second and highest third murder rate in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. In the history.
What year?
In 2018, when he came into office in August 2018 to 2019. In 2019, now here are the numbers. The highest murders in Trinidad was 550 under my friend James Philbert. Right? The second highest was 2018 under Gary Griffith, which was 536. The third highest was, I think, 516, which was also under Gary Griffith. And I have memorized those numbers because we had Gary Griffith here, and he was very disrespectful to me. He called me an uneducated fool, right? And I didn't answer him. I was nice because he was our guest, and I let him get away with it because I feel I don't have to go into the sub basement with him because he was on our guest. And when I asked him certain questions, like I asked him about the extrajudicial killings in Mova, he got very upset with me. But when you said numbers, and I'm agreeing with you, numbers don't lie, right? But those numbers that I just give you, and I want you to look it up, but I want you to stick and stay for, we want to just get 2 more minutes with you, Dr. Mohammed, because this is interesting. Let me just go for a quick station identification. We'll be right back. Of course, we have with us political scientist, Dr. Shane Mohammed with us tonight. Let's go for a quick station identification. We'll be right
You're
back.
listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's in the village with the DAC triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Oh, here we go. I actually, Dr. Mohammed, I keep these numbers right on my desk, right? So here it is. In 2008, the highest was 550 murders, right? Let me see. The highest, right? In 2019 was 538 murders, and in 2018 was 516, which was the 3rd highest, right? In 2020, during the pandemic, there was 396. And in 2021, there was 448, right?
And what is it today?
It's at 300 and something.
Yeah, 300 and something. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that I hear you, and I'm agreeing with you that numbers don't lie. But when I told Gary Griffith the same thing with these numbers, you know, he took a different tact with respect to these numbers because I don't think anybody.
You are listening to WZYE 95.9.
Put those numbers to him, and he got very belligerent.
Right. So okay, so I have said to Gary, and because I also know Gary personally, and there were several times when, as Commissioner of Police, now one of the things that I don't do is I rarely ever approach someone for some in other words, I don't use my friendship with persons to get something from them when they are in office, because I'm always of the belief that they have a greater responsibility in terms of carrying out their portfolio. Okay, so one of the things I will say to people is that I've never seen what inside Whitehall looks like when Kamala Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister, because it was not necessary, and it was not something. It was not a playground. It was the office of the Prime Minister, right? And I also had a job to do with regard to the ministries that I worked in. I told Gary, I said, Gary, you know what my problem with you is? And you have to look at it and you have to assess it. And I'm telling you this as your friend. And I think true friends tell their friends the truth when they don't want to hear it, right? I said to Gary, I said, you know what was your problem? One of your major problems is you took a lot of Kamala Persad-Bissessar's leadership traits into the office of the Commissioner of Police. I said you were too reactive. You were too responsive. Sometimes you need to shut the hell up and just listen. I said, and you were too abrasive. You were quick to respond. Yet you have to choose your battles, right? And I will tell him that now, as I see him. Gary's my friend. I would say, Gary, you need to learn from your errors, and you need to learn from the mistakes. And while you want to be responsive, and you are going to continue, he says to me, he says, Shane, I will never not be responsive. I said, okay, I will give you that. You be responsive. But I hope you know, choose your battles wisely, right? Now, putting aside the murder rate for a second. I want to tell you that the attitude of police officers on the roads and in the public's domain was much different under Gary Griffith. And it was because he invested in internal training where officers got training in communication, they got training in how they spoke to people, they got training into approaches, they were trained to be a little more people-oriented because their role was to protect and serve, and you was protecting and serving the people. And there was that change, and I also saw that change one day when I visited police headquarters, police administration building, and I was met with by these officers who were, I was shockingly very surprised by their presence. Now, I have had reason to go to St. Joseph Police Station for different things, and even there, I have been met by police officers, female and male police officers, who have been very kind and very generous and very, amicable and amiable in terms of their approach to me as a member of the public. So there is a level of transformation that has taken place in the police service as one. But at the same time, I hear all of the complaints about police killings, about people being killed without guns on them, about people getting killed and shot in the back, and raids and all of those things. But we will never ever get a villager, a community leader, or a community member ever saying what really happened down in that dark alley. Because any right-thinking police officers, you rightfully say, and you said it a few minutes ago, if a man is pointing a gun or coming at a cutlass with you, kill him, right? You will never ever get the true story as to why X and Z was killed, or for how long were they under surveillance and intelligence. Now I'll tell you this, give Gary Griffith his credit. When it comes to intelligence gathering, the man is a boss when it comes to intelligence gathering. And Trinidad and Tobago was a safer place because of intelligence gathering. And the murder rate was not murder rates. The murder rate, especially 536 that you talk about in 2018, was Gary Griffith coming into the picture and getting his hands wet for the first time and understanding structure, understanding hierarchy, understanding protocol, understanding political administration, organizational culture, and all of those things. And I'm still saying that the police service is better off today having received leadership training and development and all of that holistic approach under Gary Griffith than it is today under McDonald Jacobs. McDonald Jacobs does not see the need for training and development and transforming the police service in a manner that it meets the motto of to protect and serve. And therefore, we are, he said he's first a policeman. You're not a policeman, my friend. A policeman is a man who is standing directing traffic, or a PC that is ticketing people and that kind of thing. You are the commissioner of police. You are not a policeman. You are a leader. You are the leader in your sphere. And unless you don't understand that, and that notion that you've graduated from being a policeman to graduating to a leadership role, then you will not get respected from the public on a whole. You will not get respect and respect is something that is acquired. It is not something that it's earned. It's not something that you get by by just simply holding a title or a position. And that is where there are mixed reviews on Gary Griffith. And I agree with your caller that they are very mixed. And I have had bad run-ins with Gary. But the difference between me and Gary is that I had the freedom to cuss where he deal and put him in his place, right? But I will still say that our police service is in a better place today than it was prior to Gary Griffith coming in as Commissioner of Police. And
well, let me say this, right? The job that Gary Griffith did, in spite of the shortcomings that he have had, he did leave a significant impact. And now that ACOP Jacob is there, it just seemed that Jacob appears to be very weak.
Correct.
When you
compare, and I'm glad you're saying it.
Yeah. He appears on perception and everything. He appears to be very weak in his personal, and he allowed his own officers to mislead him in the shooting to death of PC Jokes. And
exactly,
it's kind of hard for you to go back when you allow that to happen, and you didn't sit back and say, wait, let me see the forest from the trees before I make a pronouncement. So now, so his weakness escalated when he made that big faux pas. So I mean, we know.
So you understand what I say. You understand what I'm saying when I talk about leadership and police officer and policeman and leadership. Gary Griffith came in as an outsider, but he came in with special training, right? I mean, this is a man who served at the level of the coup. He served under a prime minister and a president. This is a man who's been trained at Sandhurst, right? One of the most prestigious training grounds for officers and for defense officers, for officers of the protective services, right? He understood that he was a leader and a police officer, but he understood that leadership was very critical to his success, and he also empowered officers, right? I mean, the issues that have arisen, I don't believe that those issues cannot be corrected. I have suggested, and I will say this to you, I have put forward that there should be a firearm user license authority that is comprised of retired criminal court judges, whether they sat in the High Court or the Appeal Court, with the Commissioner of Police as an ex officio member. So therefore, the Commissioner of Police does not have a decision. He does not have decision-making authority. He simply has to sign off on the recommendations of the authority, and the authority be given a secretariat to do its background checks and to do its administrative work, and be given the opportunity to then decide yea or nay. And I think if we do that from an independent perspective, where from the perspective where we take the experience of persons who have judicial experience, that will be a step in the right direction. I will also say that I think the President, Her Excellency, the President, has made an excellent choice in terms of the appointments to persons to the Police Service Commission. And I have a great respect for Madam Justice Judith Jones. She does not come without her level of ilk and regard and respect as a former judge of the Court of Appeal, a former chairman of the Legal Aid and Advisory Authority, a former High Court judge. She is unblemished, and I will really look forward to seeing how does the Prime Minister deal with the findings and the decision of this president's appointments to the commission and their results in terms of what they put forward. And let me tell you something. I will not doubt that Gary Griffith again tops his interview and is the number one choice, because the man knows his work.
But Dr.
However,
Mohammed,
he has to have checks and balances to his office, and that comes when you give more powers to the commission so that he is answerable to his boss.
right? And Dr. Mohammed, I wanted to send a message to Gary Griffith, and this is a message whether he's going to be police commissioner again or whether he's going to be the political leader of the NTA. Judy Descent says Gary is belligerent when faced with the truth. That is so absolutely correct, because Gary Griffith been on this program twice. He's been on, how many times, Diana? 3 times?
At least 3 times.
Right. Gary Griffith been on this program 3 times, right? 3 times. And you see how you handle the facts with the murders, right? You ain't call me no names, right? You write it down, right? You deal with it. You take a little smile, you know. You fix your glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dr. Mohammed, I want to
Yes,
leave
please.
Gary Griffith. I want to leave Gary Griffith and head back to Watson Duke, because that's on my mind. Now,
Tell me.
he's been charged, as you say, but his argument is that he is being victimized, number one, and number two, a man is innocent until proven guilty. Are we using, or are they using the system to keep Watson Duke down?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think he's being victimized?
I don't think he's being victimized. I don't
So
don't
someone
think so at all.
can just bring charges against you, and that sticks, and that is what.
Well, you just said it.
determines what
You
happens.
just said no. You just said that you are innocent until proven guilty, right? The very fact that
But
you
in
are
the true
charged
sense,
with an
not just words, but it has to be treated that way.
we're not giving it. Yeah, and I agree with you. Not just that lip service, right? But you have to also take into consideration that he has not been accused only; he has been charged.
He has been charged.
And the fact that he has been charged means that there is substantial evidence in the eyes of the deputy DPP or the DPP, whoever gave the order to have him charged. There's significant evidence to believe that he should be charged for the offense. Now,
You can be framed and charged.
You can be framed and charged, but that framing and that charging will only be dealt with in a court of law.
That's right. So until it's dealt with, you're an innocent man until proven guilty.
Well, Tommy has been charged. You know. Tommy, but he's been charged. You know.
He has been charged. That's the thing. He has been charged.
Yeah.
If he had not been charged, we'd have been having a different conversation. But he has been charged. He has been before a magistrate. He has been placed on bail. So he's gone through some level of the judicial process. Now, I also don't believe that he has what it takes to be Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And let me tell you this, right? There are many people who strive, and I'm going to give you examples to back up my argument. Watson Duke was excellent as a trade unionist, and there are few trade unionists in this country who has been able to transition from being a trade unionist to a politician. But
Basdeo Pandey do that though?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. And Basdeo Pandey is one of them. Right. So is Adrian Kolarienzi. So is Rudranath Darsing, right? Yeah. So is Errol McLeod. Errol McLeod. Right. Yeah, right.
MSJ.
He has not been able to do it.
Well,
MSJ Abdullah has not. Right, he has a political. And let me tell you about that political party. That political party was a pressure group that joined the Kamla Prasad Bisesa partnership, and for them to be able to contest seats, they had to go and register themselves on before the partnership actually came together as a political party, right? So so even even when Errol McLeod relinquished the leadership of the MSG because he did not agree with their approach, and he was facing serious opposition because he believed, let me tell you, if you all don't know, and obviously I have this from inside sources. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa was out of the country and Errol McLeod was acting prime minister, there are members of cabinet who said it is one of the best times. The cabinet was excellently chaired under Errol McLeod as acting prime minister, right? And the same they said the very same thing when it came to Jack as acting prime minister and Dukaran as acting prime minister. Those fellas took their jobs very seriously, right? David Abdullah has been unable to transition from trade unionist into politician, right? He cannot separate one and the other. The problem with Watson is that Watson wants to expand into Trinidad and has expanded into Trinidad, but he has not been able to generate the level of excitement as he has and has that the PDP has generated in Tobago. Very early in this conversation, I said, if the PDP does not watch themselves and take an account into how they govern, it is very easy for them to lose seats, and they may win the next election, but they will also be diminished in terms of that 14-1 because Kelvin Morris is doing an excellent job as minority leader and a very good job as someone who is contributing to rebranding the PNM Tobago Council. Now, Watson Duke has not been able to impress. He's the deputy chief secretary without a portfolio. The portfolio is one that has been put together in what they go vex with me, them is my friend, but they go vex with me is a makeshift portfolio they give the man because he is supposed to be the liaison between Trinidad and Tobago, and they want to set up a THA office in Trinidad, and that is what his job is supposed to be. But Watson is too focused on trying to make an impact as the political leader of the PDP in Trinidad that he has not functioned as deputy chief secretary in an effective manner. So you have to also be able to.
Is it not too early to?
No. Listen, they campaigned on the premise that they had no honeymoon period, right? And he is not without having experience within the chamber. He has experience more than Tasha Boris, who is running down. She is chasing her agenda that in terms of tourism and transport, right? He has had, there are others, Trevor James, who Pastor Terrence Baines, Pastor Baines, right?
Niall George,
all of those, right? They are doing their job as best as they can, and they are chasing after their goals. And even the chief secretary is for the first time is leading a quote unquote government, and he's doing his best. My issue with him, and I have said it to him, is that he needs to be able to have, he needs to be better managed in terms of his appointments, his events, and his meetings, so that he will be able to be better all-rounded in terms of availability and accessibility, right?
But Dr. Mohammed, what is
yes,
so
ma'am.
wrong? What's so wrong with Watson Duke highlighting the really impoverished areas of Trinidad and Tobago?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. The thing is, though, the question arises is his ability to be prime minister. And I am saying he does not have what it takes to be prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, whoever comes next as prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 2025, right? Whether it's a new political party, whether it's a new leader, whether it's a new PNM leader, there's a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. Trinidad and Tobago is in dire need. And when I say dire, I mean dire, desperate need of a transformational leader that is capable of winning a constitutional majority so that we can change the constitution of Trinidad and Tobago and the way we operate and the various arms of the state needs it needs a whole what is the word I was going to
recalibration.
Not only a recalibration, but
you could use the same word transformation. We need a whole new transformation.
Yeah, it needs transformation. It needs an overhaul. It needs refurbishing is the word I wanted to use. It needs refurbishing, right? There are things that are no longer relevant. We need our president should not be a constitutional president. She should be, I am saying she, but because of who is in the chair now, but our president should be a semi-executive president who is acting as a general chief executive or a executive director to the prime minister, who is answerable to the president. The president should be elected under a non-political, right? A president should be elected.
Speaker of the House.
The Speaker of the House is elected by members of the House, but the president of the vice president, the president of the Senate should automatically be the vice president of the country, as is done in the U.S. with Kamala Harris. She's president of the Senate, but vice president of the United States.
Don't forget term limits. We need 2 terms per.
And listen,
but
do you know the Constitution does not the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago does not provide 2-term limits for president. The presidency under the Constitution can be for life. It's a convention that was established by governments that a president will only serve a maximum of 2 terms. Right. That should be entrenched in the Constitution as well as the prime ministership.
Well, I think this right. I don't want to take advantage of Dr. Shane's Mohammed time. He's gave us so much time, man, and this was such a vital discussion that we have.
I really enjoyed it.
We need to have you back, Dr. Mohammed, because I think that this was a fantabulous and splendiferous discussion. And we put so much things on the table, and we learned so much, and people in the chat learned so much. So we wanna respect your time, and we want to say thank you so much, for giving us this time and joining us. You joined us on short notice, so I don't want to take advantage of the time that you give us.
After you already take advantage.
Yeah. Any closing words before you go? Any closing words?
I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to also say that my heart is for Trinidad and Tobago. I've always been, I have friends and colleagues who are in and out of Trinidad and Tobago, and they keep saying to me, when will you become prime minister? And if that is God's will, I always say, my humble prayer is that my path is directed by the Lord that I serve above, and I will always say as well that a country is always governed best when God is put in the center of that governance. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity for this international exposure. I want to say thank you for having me for this long on the program, and for giving me the platform to share my views. And I look forward to us having more collaborations. And I also want to say to all of you all on the diaspora, do not lose hope, and do not lose your voice. It is important to development of Trinidad and Tobago.
I
Dr. Mohammed.
losing mine. You can always hear me.
Dr. Mohammed, we want to say
Please,
thank
please.
we want to say thank you so very kindly, man, and we definitely gonna have you back. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Okay,
much,
take
Thank
care.
guys.
you.
Good night, and thank
Take
you
care.
again.
Take care, man. Take care. All
Okay.
right. Yeah. So, folks, that is Dr. Shane Mohammed. Of course, it was a fantabulous discussion. And just for you guys in the chat, I think we have so Judy Ellis. I mean, put closing comments in the chat. I know you guys been sitting there. We haven't read a lot of the comments, but just for tonight, Rennie, Nadia, Ken, John, Ulrich, put closing comments in the chat. Ulrich was mad tonight, boy. One thing Ulrich can do is cuss. Ulrich,
You know,
Ulrich.
all the time I telling you, you going down low. It's my headset that was low.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Nadia, Judy, yeah, yeah. But folks, I want to say that, you know, this is the type of discussions we like to have here in the village. I think this discussion was very forthright and forthcoming. We learned quite a bit. Let me get rid of Dr. Mohammed here. We learned quite a bit about what's going on, and that's what we're interested in bringing, you know what I mean? And he gave a side, a PNM side and a UNC side, you understand? And he was honest. He was part of the UNC. He told you guys he was part of the, and that's who he is, you know.
Mm.
um I mean, I just feel that we want what's best for the country. And Ulrich, I know you're not a supporter of Gary Griffith, but I want to think that Gary Griffith can change his behavior. I want to believe that. And I believe we all can change. You
How about
understand?
Dr. Rowley?
Dr. Rowley say he's 70 and he's not going to change.
Mm.
That's what he said.
Okay.
So Albert Montana said, I'm listening for this last 2 hours and half, and all this discussion will get us nowhere. No, Albert. I wouldn't say that, man. Because we brought a new guy into the village tonight, Dr. Mo. We always have Vishnu Raghunath, Dr. Raghunath, and we used to have Winford James, Dr. Winford James, and we get a different side with Dr. Shane Mohammed. So I think it was excellent. I really think so. And I appreciate Albert while you at it. Put a closing comment in the chat there. Right. So folks, this was a little marathon that we had, but we wanted to make sure we give Dr. Mohammed enough time, to talk and say the things that he wanted to say. So, I'm going to close tonight, and I'm just going to say that you are valuable just because you exist, not because of what you do or what you have done, but simply because you are you. And remember, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at the times of challenge and controversy. From where I sit, this is it. The clock on the wall said that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. Go ahead, Tommy.
I like to say these are Vincent Van Gogh words. Success is sometimes the outcomes of a whole string of failures. Still, love is the key. That's my word. Love is the key. Love is the key to life. And I'd like to thank all of you who hung right in there with us, even though we went for a marathon session tonight. And look forward to the next session. Love you all. Be safe out there.
Hey, Ulrich, Nadia supporting you, boy. Nadia say, let me see what Nadia said. Hold on. Ulrich getting support, boy. Anselm, I'm not in support of Gigi too, boy. Oh, God.
You know I'm not.
Oh, Nadia, you told me?
No, I definitely don't support Gigi for that job.
Oh, look for Gigi getting. Where Diana?
Okay. In the media in the past couple days, there's been this thing, rumor and gossip going around about, the First Lady, Dr. Rowley. So I'm going to do a piece on that. Address it. Proverbs 26:22 says, "A juicy tale seems so sweet on the tongue, yet as it works its way deeper, it becomes bitter and harmful." We often have the mistaken notion that if we empathize something bad about another, it will make us look better. Scripturally, the opposite is true. 1 Corinthians 12:26 teaches us that if one member suffers, all the parts share the suffering. Like a boomerang or weapon against our brother will eventually return to smack us. The trader in gossip suffers as much as the victim. Trading in gossip appears analogous to contracting a severe communicable disease, which, if not arrested, could cost us our eternal life. The effects upon gossipers' characters are initially unnoticeable, but the symptom gradually worsens until the talebearer becomes engulfed in the paroxysms of bitterness and hatred. The dictionary defines gossip as idle talk or rumor, especially about the personal or private affairs of others. Mean-spirited gossip is detrimental to the person that the topic of conversation is the topic of conversation and can be viewed as a form of harassment. Rumors versus gossip. Rumors are pieces of information or a story that has not been verified. Gossip is slightly different from a rumor. Usually, gossip involves a juicy detail of some sort, which means the information is shocking or personal. Gossip is usually a scandalous story, involves love, relationships, sex, and other issues that people usually do not talk about publicly. Additionally, gossip almost always causes pain and humiliation for the person it is about. Unknown if information is true, people share gossip without any thought of how it might impact the person. There are a variety of reasons why people will spread rumors or engage in gossiping. By infecting the media with tawdriness of a political leader's life, they may be engaging in gossiping for one of the following reasons: to get attention, to gain power, to get revenge, to relieve boredom. By using all scandals, are contenders for the leader of Trinidad and Tobago acting in a selfish way to keep their candidacy strong? Is this a soap opera or political campaign? Gossip is far too painful and plentiful in Trinidad and Tobago already. Do we want it to be witnessed in the front of this nation? What we should be magnanimously gossiping and spreading rumors about are the following issues: allegations of voter padding, ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago improvement, access to Forex, the possible reopening of entities that will measure employers of citizens, how to decrease the current murder rate, the health and safety of the nation's citizens, especially our women, the book list for many of the nation's children that need.
Are you there, Diana?
I don't know, Diana, like she lost her internet, boy.
Yeah, streaming.
I don't know what went on. She's still there? She there?
No, I didn't hear it.
Okay. Well, folks, I guess Diana she lost the internet there on us. So okay.
Is she anywhere in sight?
No. No, I don't see her. So unless Diana gets back, let me read the closing comments here. Alice says, let me come out solo. Alice says, politicians causing more pain and deaths than any bandits and police in this country. But we can't wait for elections for free rum and roti. Ulrich says, if you allow yourself to be hoodwinked by others, you will lose focus and give away what you stand for. Be wise. Have a blessed night, everyone. Thank you, Ellis.
Ellis, politician causing more pain. Yeah.
Ellis says, to Gigi, your setback amuse them, but your comeback gonna confuse them. Capiza says, who dead, dead, who live, live. Albert Montano says, Trinidad and Tobago is a lowest course. I'm too old to waste time on these people.
Us, the older ones, have to fix it for the younger ones coming.
Yeah. Renee Mohammed says, we all want people under the same sun and love to everyone. Yeah. Next time we have him back, we're gonna ask him about who can a third party leader be, Judy. Nadia says, bless night, everyone. Be safe outside because it still have COVID.
Yep.
Judy says, Gigi needs balance and listen to the people around. Not one set of race is criminals. It have criminals in every race. Yeah. Internet went out.
Yeah, the internet went out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will do the article another night.
Okay, no problem.
They just got into the school books part.
Yeah. All right, let me see what we're gonna go out with tonight. Okay. We're gonna go to this one by Shadow. All right, so we're gonna go to this one by Shadow. Here we go.
FM, Maplewood, New Jersey,